King. Hey, catch this rhythm. You feel that? That's called playerism. I'm on the scene, a player clean, poker face, 4 queens. I got 4 of a kind on everything. Dig this, living elite. I don't feel complete without kicking at my feet in a Rolls Royce every week. Baby, this is deep. Listen close when I speak. I need to at least, cause I'm too much. I'd be a fool if I love him, You'll be a fool if you trust him, Here with my niggas, we keeping it gangsta. Yeah, I'm a slayer, I'm just keeping it player. I'm fucking her now, we're man eating it later. That's maybe why he is a hater. I'm wearing all black like I'm being a raider. You talk to police, we call you a traitor. I'm running the city, they call me for favors. I'm running the city, they call me the mayor. It's getting political with me, my street presidential. She give me the quit banging my line, ho. Quit banging my line, ho. When you see me act like you don't even know me, ho. When you see me act like you don't even know me, ho. Come on, baby, get a clue. How you do what you do? How do you fall in love with me, but I'm not in love with you? Peace to the saints! Peace to the saints! I can't lie to you. You know, hearing the intro song with the headphones on, I'm vibing. You heard me? I damn near want to put the song back on. We have the full interview, Piers Morgan, Andrew Tate. We are going to be going through that. And I think it'll be very instructive for a lot of us. There was a lot of speculation, and now we get to see the full thing. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. Do confirm per usual that the audio is good as we go on. We have about an hour of this interview. You know, the boring parts we might need to skip through, but we want to look at the interaction and see what lessons there are for wise men.
Tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, one of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate's misogynistic tirades have been viewed billions of times online. He's now been effectively banned, though, from the internet. He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
Okay, already. Number one, you see the radical difference in the way he introduces the guest. When he introduced Dr. Jordan Peterson, he was very complimentary, very mild. Number one. Then number two, one thing that I find to be very contrived and hey, I've taken formal business training, or I've been watching this kind of this is not a natural handset. This is not a natural posturing, and things like that. It's a bit of a turnoff. But shout out to Tate. He's trying to get in his zone and get ready for battle, and it damn sure is a battle because Pierce is showing no respect off of rip. Alpha Music writes, "Here with my ninjas, we keeping it gangsta. Pick a hoe to go to the latest show where the ballers pose." Woo, back to back with the bruh. I'm telling you, man, the bars is serious and the flow is there too. The funny thing too is I don't really put any effort into the music, so I don't have a engineer master. You heard me? I just slap it up and put it out. I'm doing it for fun. I'm enjoying it.
Music was the one that had that suggestion for the video title.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Alpha Music. Your video title suggestion was forwarded to me, so I see you got some taste and you know how to formulate things very well. So I probably will be using that one. So thank you for that. Carrying on.
He doesn't think that's fair. Tonight, I'm going to try and work out if it is.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Andrew Tate, one-on-one. He's the most famous man you probably never heard of, with billions of views online. At one point this year, more people were searching Google for Andrew Tate than Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian.
First off, shout out to Andrew Tate. When he says more people search for him than Kim Carr, I'm not even going to say nothing foul about her, but this super thought. More people are searching for Tate than Super Thought or Donald Trump, the world's most famous Cheeto. That's That is an amazing accomplishment. My sincerest compliments to Andrew Tate. That's a beautiful thing. Really proud of him. Shout out to Osmosis, who comes in with tuition.
Former professional kickboxer, he was kicked off Big Brother in 2016 after a video emerged of him striking a woman, in what they now both claim was a consensual sex game. He's since made millions as a pornographer and casino owner in Romania, but it's his online videos that have made him notorious across the world, posing as a playboy.
Wait, he called my boy a pornographer. He dirty for that. Pierce, you dirty, bruh. He said he's made millions as a pornographer. That ain't right. And shout out to Tate's car game, because I know some of you might not necessarily own these cars or ever have shopped for these cars, but you know, these are very expensive automobiles. I was obviously, you know, I'm in Monaco yesterday. I was looking at a car, a Ferrari, and when it was released, it was a limited edition. It was released at 1.5 million and it's now 3 million. I was a bit annoyed because when I walked in, I'm talking to the sales associate about the car. The dumb broad takes like 10 minutes to tell me it's sold. I'm like, you fucking, oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to curse. Anyways, getting back to it.
Cam the Product said peace to the Saints tuition.
Peace to the Saints.
And 6 said elite Olympic level physical prowess making 50K a year, or a billionaire but slightly above average physical health.
Well, the truth is that if you're making 50, or let's put it this way, 50K versus a billion, that's a major gap. Having elite Olympic physical prowess, first off, you clearly don't know how to monetize that. But if you look at an average physical health person, they can improve that health relatively quickly. That would be much easier of a gap to close, which is that gap in physical health or physical performance versus the 50K to a billion. So for sure, I would take the $1 billion and then start working on my health ASAP.
Rickster said peace to the Saints, to the big homie, you dig.
In a real way. Peace to the Saints. Truly appreciate it. Carrying on.
With fast cars, cigars, weapons and cash. He rants about his often scandalous views on women.
Or instruct a female to provide sustenance. Cook.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes.
Tells young men they can get as rich as him by paying for his digital life lessons.
I have 100 business tips I'm going to teach you, which will allow you to make your own money instantly.
But amid a global media backlash, the net has closed on Andrew Tate. While millions still share his videos, he's effectively banned from the web.
Wait, what did that say? Hold on.
Andrew Tate. While millions still share his videos.
RAPE charities demand TikTok ban millionaire British ex-Big Brother influencer. Grape charities, that sounds kind of weird though, don't it? It sounds like if you donate to that charity, they're going to support grape. That sounds kind of weird, but whatever. Carrying on.
He's effectively banned from the web, booted off Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. To his fans, he's a misunderstood satirist and the victim of big tech censorship. To many others, he's a malicious misogynist. Tonight, I'll try and get to the truth.
Hold on. Hold on.
The victim of big tech censorship.
Shout out to Tate for being in great shape.
Malicious misogynist. Tonight.
Shout out to Tate for being in great shape. But look, bruh. This man is flexing so hard right now. Good. Somebody check Tate's draws, right? Check Tate's draws. The man flexing too hard. But shout out to Tate for being in great physical shape in a real way.
I'll try and get to the truth. Well, some of the opinions Andrew Tate shares in his videos are undeniably deeply offensive. We're going to show you some of them on this show. I think you should see them for yourself, not simply hear what he says about them or what other people say about them. Tens of millions of people across the world.
Why does Pierce look like he already mad? Like Pierce that woke up in a bad mood. You heard me? Pierce looked like he didn't beat his wife before he even showed up at the show today. Oh man, this is going to be ugly. I could tell.
Follow Andrew Tate, and with a big following comes a big responsibility, as well as a public interest in holding his views to account. If outrageous opinions are read aloud, they can be challenged and exposed for what they are. If they're silenced, the person holding these views can become a martyr. So that's why I invited Andrew Tate to come here tonight, and he joins me
Wow.
now. So, Andrew,
First off, Piers Morgan, you're a liar. There's nothing worse than people who get on a high horse and it's clearly you're lying. So number one, you said that by you, Piers, you claim that you're inviting him on so that he's not silenced and he doesn't become a martyr. When in reality, you're inviting him on because, as you already stated, he was the most searched, one of the most searched persons on the internet, which means that he's famous, like ultra famous for this most recent period in internet history. And you are trying to gain some clout, fame, and some views and ad revenue by bringing him onto your platform. Let us not be lied to when you try to act like you're doing it out of your regard for free speech or all that good stuff. Nah, bruh. You're doing it because it's going to get views. You're an entertainer and clearly also a liar. Carrying on.
well, welcome, first of all.
Thank you very much.
You come all the way from Romania to do this interview.
Correct.
What do you hope to achieve from this interview? Why are you here?
It'd be interesting to have a conversation with you. You've certainly been the subject of your own divided opinions in the world. There's a lot of people who would say some of the things you say are perhaps dangerous or toxic. So I thought you'd be a good person to speak to about this subject.
I didn't know much about you before this year, and then I suddenly became very aware of you, as the world did, because, as I said earlier, you were the #1 subject searched on Google ahead of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was even possible. Yeah. Why did you get suddenly so popular stroke infamous, do you think?
I exploded. I certainly didn't do that with magic. I've been on the internet for a very long time. I think in the world we live in now, as the other side, the people who disagree with me, as they get more and more tyrannical in their censorships and their hate mobs, etc., as standard masculine practices are deemed toxic, I didn't put a magic spell on everybody. I managed to accumulate a large amount of affinity with the male populace across the Western world because I'm simply saying things that many men believe, think, and feel.
To be honest with you, I was hoping Tate would drop some game that I could utilize, but he's just speaking like kind of in generality right now. And this answer is not quite accurate. So essentially he's being asked, how did you become so popular all of a sudden? And the true answer is because he's had a genius marketing strategy and he's empowered a multitude of young males to pursue a dollar for themselves. And if you were ever to get someone to do something on your behalf, you have to give them a reason. And generally that reason is something that has, self-interest. And Tate was able to leverage that. And the gentleman has great business skills and great marketing skills. And that is how he's been able to do it. And he's been working at gaining fame for a long time. Hence his activities in the on the reality TV show space. So he's been pursuing fame for a significant amount of time, and then he figured it out. And that's what happens. Persistence overcomes resistance. And shout out to Tate. I'm very proud to see how much he's winning. It's a beautiful thing. But his answer to this question is like not quite what we wanted to hear. Now, is it?
Osmosis sent a cash app. He said, comment on the chat. He said, I'm at the Louis Vuitton store in Florence, Italy, for my lady, of course. Funny, 7 people in the store have asked me where I got the backpack briefcase.
Exactly. Thank you. And it's sold out too, so they can't get one. And anyone, and so you live in real big boss baller status, and a lot of people who actually live like this, their stores here, I'm not going to name any, I'm not trying to like make these designers any more billions than they already have, you dig? But we're in one particular store, and there are bags that are limited edition. And when you buy them, essentially, you'll be able to sell it for more than you bought it for. And I think the same will be true of the products that we're creating because they're such high quality and no one else is doing it like we doing it. Thank you for sharing that.
Tate sent 2 super chats. I'm going to read this. He said, I am due to send you something soon. Much love.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you, Tate. Carrying on.
The problem I would say is I want to play you just a clip off the top. This is from Joe Rogan. He's somebody I absolutely love.
Sure.
And I think it explains to me what I presume my issue with you is going to be, right?
Correct.
And you
right,
you have absolutely got the right to try and persuade me otherwise.
Sure.
But Joe Rogan said this about you.
My 12-year-old and my 14-year-old asked me about Andrew Tate.
And
my
what'd you say?
14-year-old
What'd you
asked
say?
me, I said he's a legit world champion kickboxer. I go, I like him a lot. Why do you like him? And I was asking him. And they said he says a lot.
Hey, by the way, again, shout out to Tate. Also, shout out to Joe Rogan because, number one, when a man of respect is asked about you and the man of respect says he's legit, that means something. I'm all about, people being authentic, being who they really are. And we're in an era of so much phoniness. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that Tate is a world champion kickboxer, that he is who he portrays himself to be. And of course, anytime you find success, you'll be portrayed to be many other things that you are not. But let us, really have respect for the fact that he is that. And, one thing I will give you as a side note, just for those who don't know, because I know there are a lot of people who are unaware, becoming a professional fighter is not, an impossible thing to do. It's a lot more attainable than, say, becoming a professional basketball player or a professional tennis player, as it were. So there's perhaps a greater range of skill level that you'll find in the combat sports versus, other sports. So that's one thing to be aware of. I don't say that to deride Tate. I say that unrelated to that because, I was watching some people's comments about a professional kickboxer at sparred. I've sparred a lot of professional fighters, whether it's kickboxing, MMA, or boxing. And sometimes people are like, oh, that guy's not a professional. Like, no, he is. Like, you obviously are not a boxing fan because these people are called journeymen, which is to say every pro fighter is not a great fighter. Certainly at the elite championship level that Tate was at, you're going to encounter like real hitters. You dig? So shout out to the hard men who engage those combat sports.
Damien said, good morning, hope all is well. Would you ever consider being a politician?
Now, I've considered it in the past when I was much younger and less experienced. And, I don't think I could properly be a politician because, number one, most folks who go into politics and government are self-interested, seeking their own power. Number two, they have the limits of the existing government structures and the bureaucrats embedded in those structures. And number three, not only do we need policy reform, we also need cultural reform, which is my major focus. And lastly, your boy's a playboy. It's going to get in the way of my gallivanting across the world. But I do plan to put people in position to hold political office. I want to support a lot of saints in holding political office.
V. Cartwright said, peace to the saints. I've contemplated either staying in corporate and climbing the ladder or starting my own consulting business. Both paths are challenging. Thoughts?
Do both. And, the answer will be revealed to you. A genius whose words I read when I was in the latter part of university, he said, when you come to a fork in the road, take both sides. And I think at some point it'll be clarified as to which side you should really be on. If you have youth and energy and time, which we mostly all do, then try out both and see what's appropriate for you. But let me promise you this, it is not wise to quit your job before you've made a business profitable. I made that mistake and my road was all the harder.
A lot of funny stuff on Twitter and TikTok.
Is there a reason you got a major pause?
I can't hear it
You can't hear what?
when you start your video. 'Cause
No,
it
why?
keeps
I
me
would.
through.
Okay, go ahead.
Matthew said, peace to the saints. Marquette, thank you for the valuable content.
Peace of the saints. I appreciate that, Matthew. You're very welcome. And thank you to all of those who show gratitude. Gratitude is a very important thing, whether you're showing gratitude to yourself, which is critical, or showing gratitude to your family members, and also being an example of that. And gratitude also is something that makes us happy. There's a lot of scientific evidence on that. So thank you to those who show gratitude and respect. Caught up?
Yes.
He f***ed up with the misogynist stuff.
Yes.
Because if he didn't do that, if he just did the pro-male stuff.
So I thought that was interesting because when I've gone over everything that's been at the center of the debate about Andrew Tate, I come down with Joe Rogan in the sense that there's a lot of stuff you say I agree with. I've got 3 sons in their 20s. It's not easy actually being a young male in the modern world. And I think a lot of the things that you say about that can resonate with them. The problem.
So first off, don't ever listen to average people tell you how to be extraordinary. I'm not suggesting that Joe Rogan is average. I'm not suggesting that Piers Morgan is average. Clearly, they're both above average. What I am telling you is that your path is for you, and generally people trying to give you advice, especially when you've already displayed that you know how to be successful, this is going to be to your detriment. The reality is this. They're saying that had he not spoken on women, he would still be as popular, he would still be as successful. This is a complete falsehood. The truth is, if he didn't speak about women in the ways that these folks have described as hatred for women, then certainly he would not have gained the same level of following. because if you're just speaking about self-improvement, then you're a Brian Tracy, you're Tony Robbins, you're a life coach. But he went deeper than that, and he addressed some of the most basic drivers of the human being and the human male, which is women and intercourse and dating and relationships and frustration. And those are the things that have resonated most. Those are the things that have provided him with his viral moments. That is what has made Andrew Tate. It's not his advice on success, and it's surely not his advice on business, though he might know much about both of those topics. It's the advice on the women. It's the sound bites and the viral content on the women. So these are lies. And if you were to listen to your ideological enemy, which is Piers Morgan, if you were to listen to him and take his advice, then you're actually going to be engaging in self-destruction. So this is complete foolery. And I want you all to be aware that in your journey, you will have many Piers Morgans, whether it's your mother, your father, your friend, your school counselor, whomever. They try to tell you how to be you. Oh, no, no, no.
Comes with the, I don't know, 10, 20% or whatever of your output, which on the face of it appears to be blatant misogyny. And when you couple that with your massive influence and huge reach, that is why the social media companies have decided to effectively cancel you. I don't believe in cancellation. I don't believe in censorship particularly. That's why I've invited you to come on the show. But I do think a lot of the things you've said are blatant misogyny. Do you accept that?
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appear to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on.
May I compliment the gentleman real quick? I want to compliment Tate on the fact that he is one of the most searched persons on the internet, and clearly that would mean massive fame. And even with that, I find him to be very humble, and he's exercising great humility in this conversation. So, that really is beautiful. Not that I think humility is just like something you need to display all the time, but I think that he's wearing it really well. So I'm very proud of the gentleman for that.
Sister sent a cash app. He said Beasto in the chat.
Okay, shout out to Beasto. Did he have a comment or he
message
just letting us
Beasto,
know?
no.
Okay, so Beasto, we'll keep an eye out. We don't see anything in the chat from you.
On the planet. I'm absolutely and utterly the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people misunderstand me.
But I think you've used this phrase and be taken out of context. And I'm not sure that is correct in the sense that it still comes out of your mouth. And some of the things
Completely.
Some of the things you've said, I just think are blatantly.
Well, let's do them. Let's hear them.
Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right. So you said this about Me Too stroke rape. This is probably.
By the way, see right here, I think this was a major misstep on the part of Andrew Tate. When he said, let's hear them, nah, I'm here to talk live. We don't need to play back clips. Furthermore, he's actually given the initiative to Piers Morgan. In battle, you never want to do this. It's being a counterpuncher is fine, but think about it. If you're trying to counterpunch Mike Tyson and he hits you with a knockout punch, ain't no counter about to come, you dig? And more importantly, you must be able to anticipate to dominate. He doesn't know which clip Piers Morgan is going to pull up. So that was a very poor chess move right there. I highly recommend against such things. Beasto writes, Saint wore my gold tennis chain out for the first time yesterday. Lost count of the compliments I received on it. Any chance for more jewelry releases? Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have some more jewelry releases. And we do still have for the folks who want to get their drip up at thesasn.com. We got the yellow chain, the gold chain with the canaries in it. And we'll be having more jewelry coming soon. So thank you for sharing that with the Saints, and may you continue shining.
Adrian sent a cash app. He said, peace to the Saints. He said, I have to teach a group of kids in a few hours, following a curriculum that I was given yesterday. How would you go about teaching a curriculum effectively that you have little knowledge of?
So he's going to teach it in a few hours. Well, first I would ask myself, how long do I have to teach, right? Is it 20 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? I would look at the curriculum and ask myself realistically, how much of this can I cover? Do as much study as you can, and then go in and do your best to maintain their attention and make it engaging. And remember, generally speaking, in terms of teaching, there's a 3-step process. It's called I do, we do, you do, which is, I demonstrate the skill or I speak to the skill. We do the skill together in collaboration. And then you, the individual student, needs to do the skill independently to demonstrate mastery.
I don't know if you can see in the picture, but this is the Adrian that was at the second conference.
Was that the second
first
conference?
He's on the original assassin shirt with the red sleeve.
Oh, yeah, I know the young man. Indeed. Peace of the Saints. Good to see you again. Been a little while.
Probably 40% of the reason I moved to Romania. In Eastern Europe, none of this garbage flies. You go to the police and say, you raped me back in 1988. They'll say, well, you should have done something about it back then.
Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been a lot of high-profile cases where men accused of things they did not do without...
That's actually funny when you read it aloud. You call the police. Hey, somebody stole my Game Boy. Somebody stole my Game Boy in 1982. I mean, when you take that same logic and you apply it to something else, it sounds ludicrous, right? You're reporting sexual assault 30 years later. Just imagine if you reported any other type of crime 30 years later, how ludicrous it sounds. You call up hey, I'm calling to report an emergency. What's your emergency, sir? This is 911 dispatch. Yeah, I would like to report a fire. The fire was in 1972. I mean, it's just ludicrous when you come on, man. This is good.
Evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed.
Right.
When I say these things, people sit and say that, oh, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence can go forward and just make up accusations against men, even though they've been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will, is absolutely and utterly
What about a
asinine.
woman who was raped back in 1988 and goes to the police?
Then the man should face absolute and complete justice.
But you understand that when that clip appears on TikTok, as a clip, and all right.
As a clip, completely.
Okay, but it's still something that came out of your mouth.
So the funny thing, too, is I think a lot of the acolytes of Andrew Tate, they're like, he was stoic. He was stoic. Zen. Usa. Kion kataiche. He was zen. He didn't react emotionally. We see he was getting pretty lit right there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having passion and being passionate about a given topic. That's why we pursue a given thing, because we're passionate about it. So I respect that. I don't think there's any real criticism there. One thing that, he was kind of briefly checkmated on by Piers is that he stated that you shouldn't be able to report these things so late. And then Piers says, well, what if it actually did happen? And then he basically conceded, okay, well, then it should be prosecuted. When really I would have preferred that he held stronger and then said, no, if it happened 30 years ago and we don't have any evidence of it, we probably are going to have to, investigate because it's appropriate. But in these cases, if the evidence isn't there, then evidence isn't there. I think that's the whole point, is that it's an evidence issue, that we're finding people convicted in the court of public opinion. And in the absence of evidence, we're still sending them off to jail, kind of like in the Bill Cosby situation. And also we have the governments and the courts being dishonest.
Do you accept that when that appears on TikTok, a lot of young, maybe not as smart as you, young men, right? Impressionable, teenagers, will read that and go, what's he saying here? Is he saying that rape doesn't exist?
No, I completely. I'm not going to sit here as a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that...
See, right now, he's doing the wrong things. He's responding to Piers Morgan, meaning Piers Morgan is constantly on the attack, which puts Andrew Tate on the defensive. So he's on the receiving end, when really he needs to flip the dynamic. The Master Sun Tzu notes that attack implies abundance, defense implies lack. So you always want to be on the aggressive side of things. Piers Morgan said something that is not only untrue, but absolutely ludicrous, and it appears that it's slid by Andrew Tate, perhaps due to his heightened emotional state right now, or perhaps due to his lack of strategy coming in, which Piers Morgan stated, quote, young men will hear this and believe that, quote, grape doesn't exist, and quote, what? That doesn't make any sense. None of Andrew Tate or really anyone's sound bites could add up to the idea that this crime does not exist. I don't think any reasonable commentator has even suggested such a thing. So this is clearly a deceitful tactic on the part of Piers Morgan. And honestly, I wish Andrew Tate would have not only caught this, but also like really flamed him because of it.
On Cash App, we have Wayne that said, "Peace to the saints, showing love and paying tuition."
Peace to the saints. Thank you very much, Wayne. And thank you to those who support this work. It does mean a lot. And of course, shout out to the family, you know, the members at patreon.com/the Saint in the Center who support on a regular basis at all the member websites.
That one small sentence you've taken was from a 1-hour video where I explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content.
Do you think women are the property of men?
No.
So you'll notice that when Tate says something, Pierce doesn't respond to it. Heck, he doesn't even acknowledge it. He just goes straight on to his next question, which really makes it seem like a police interrogation rather than an interview or a dialogue. It's a bit disappointing, but something you can expect from your enemies. One other clever piece of logic that I would have liked to have seen Andrew Tate share would have been to state that, you know, you really shouldn't blame an Andrew Tate for sharing his perspective in long form. You should blame two parties if you must blame someone. Party number one you would blame would be the individual who decided to cut up that edit and repost it. And then number two, you would blame TikTok for serving up short form content, whereas they could easily serve long form content like YouTube does. But what we see is that all of the platforms are following what the consumers want, which is short form content. TikTok has their videos, YouTube has something called Shorts, Instagram has Reels. So clearly they're following what is most appealing to the consumer. That would have been a very clever thing for Tate to say. That also would have removed him from being on the defensive.
Point I was making,
why have you said they are?
because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the most
So you
religious
do
country in the world.
think that the woman becomes the men?
I think she takes his last name.
I mean, let's watch the clip that you said about this
Sure.
so that we can get it in context.
So I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Absolutely.
But I've been married twice, as it turns out, and on both occasions.
Right there, see, that was another opportunity for him to flame the living daylights out of Piers Morgan. He's like, I've been married twice, as it turns out, which he's saying that as though it's like a badge of honor, or that like there's some merit there, or that he has like experience. Like, no, you've been married twice, but you've also been divorced, so you have experience with failure in marriage. So you're no expert here. Further, you clearly don't respect the sanctity of marriage, and whether you do or don't, you're a failure at this. So like, let us not take your experience. Yeah, I would have liked to have heard him say that, but I do appreciate that he stuck with his initial word, which is the idea that when the woman is married to the man, she does become, she comes under his leadership, and she should be in full submission, which is correct. And I don't think that's necessarily, that should only be a religious concept. That should just be a concept. You heard me?
I didn't believe that the woman was being handed to me as chattel, as property.
Perhaps the
And maybe that's why you failed at it, Pierce. Softy.
way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now, that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his.
Wow, I mean, it's pretty crazy how he just got cut off like cut him off clean, and he didn't fight it. Like, you know, he just taking it with no Vaseline up the patootie, And that's an unfortunate thing. And you really do have to call people out. You'll even find that mild-mannered intellectuals like Noam Chomsky, even in the heat of a debate, he'll say, "May I complete a sentence?" which is a fair thing to ask someone who's cutting you off. And so clearly there's a lapse here with Andrew Tate.
Travel with Trey said, congrats on 100K subscribers, Saint. May your future endeavors be successful. Peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. Trey, I appreciate that. And indeed, let all of our tomorrows be better than today.
On Cash App, we have Bam said, peace to the Saints. Pierce is full of manure.
Indeed, he is. Shout out to Bams.
And Marquise said, peace to the Saints.
Appreciate it, Keith.
His last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right. So she's
still a sovereign individual. She's absolutely not a sovereign
property
individual.
means that the husband owns your sister.
Listen, my friend, if we want to argue about this, you need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious.
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage, and I believe that.
That's not the question.
I believe the father. The father hands her.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
Right, but don't be a politician, because I think you're a straight talker, right? You keep telling.
Wow. See, honestly, I might have started getting a little displeased with Pierce. Like, don't be a politician. It's like, well, first off, bro, like, don't talk to me like that. That's a dirty word. You heard me? And number two, between the two of us, you for sure are more politician than I am. And then number three, like this constant cutting off, nah, that's not quite right. And here's the thing, you don't have to play nice all the time. There was a situation in which Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was negotiating with a country that he was at war with. And they were hosting him for this negotiation. And when he couldn't get the outcome that he wanted, he basically slapped all of the fine china off of the table onto the ground and let it break. And he says, you see what happened to that tea service? All of that broken porcelain? That's what's going to happen to your empire if you want to continue fighting. He's just like, hey, I don't have no respect. I'm not going to pretend I do. And so he's getting his thug on. He just stormed out. And it get like that every now and then. The truth is, a lot of these rules of engagement are created by certain individuals to protect themselves. So sometimes you play nice, but sometimes you just exercise power, which is to say, I'm not going to let this old pink-faced fella shut me down and talk over me. It's just not about to rock like that.
Arturo came in as a piece of the Saints. He also came in on PayPal.
Word.
So he doubled up.
Arturo?
Arturo? It's on the screen.
Let me see. I got you. Arturo. Okay, shout out. I truly appreciate that. And you said he also came in on PayPal. Mm-hmm. Smart man. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And Bunlean sent tuition.
Peace to the Saints. And thank you to those who support the work. And I know we're very early, so some of you might be watching this on replay. If you want to support, feel free to hit the super thanks button below. And if you have questions in the aftermath, hit that super thanks. And, I do go through all those comments and reply. You'll see me on those, thanking people for giving real support. So if you have a question on the aftermath, feel free to ask. Because I know sometimes people do. We try to check on those. And, of course, questions from our members.
Telling me you're a straight talker. I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe.
Yeah, but not as property.
No, property is the word that other people use when they ask me the question.
But as an equal partner in a loving union. That's what marriage actually means. It doesn't mean that when you get married, the woman is given to you as a bit of chattel.
Agreed.
So why say it?
But that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask.
So right now, basically, Andrew Tate is backpedaling. There's no other way to put it. I don't care if you're a fan or not. It is what it is. He's backpedaling right now. And what's worse is that he's being bullied by a guy who's not a bully. It's distasteful to me. So I'm not really impressed with this particular segment. If I was Andrew Tate and I was watching my own interview, I'd be looking like, dang, I didn't really perform well during this particular segment. The truth is that Tate has already stated his opinion. He's also stated the origins of how he defines marriage. And then conversely, even though he wasn't asked, Piers Morgan states how he believes marriage should be defined without even justifying it in any history or logic. He basically is just spouting out his own personal belief. You see, right here, it would have been wise wisest if Tate would have stated his position one time, clearly, succinctly, in hard words, and then when he was questioned again, said, I've already answered your question. My opinion and perspective will not change. I don't feel the need to be badgered about it, so I'm not going to restate it because you already know what my position is. It's the same one you heard. I'm ready for the next question. Sometimes you just got to move things along. You're like, hey, interviewer, do you have more questions on your list? Because you keep asking the same one. You just got to move it along. Because you see that at this point, Pierce is basically asked the exact same question 4 times, not seeking an answer, not seeking an elaboration, but rather seeking to knock Tate off of his pivot, which he's successfully done. And he has Tate backpedaling a little bit. So when really Tate should have said, look, I'm sticking to the script. Next question.
Okay, 2 Bundling came back and said, peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
Tuition. I wanted to say thank you for all the wisdom and gain you've provided. My life would be very different without your content.
Wow, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I'm always very happy to hear that people are being more successful, especially when I hear that they've improved their bodies, improved their income, gotten off of intoxicants. All these things really mean a lot to me.
Hang on, you can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said, you've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
Like me asking you a question now, and you say something, and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So you
if she
do,
belongs to the man.
All right. So fundamentally, you do believe.
Okay, so this is the damn near the 5th time that Pierce asked him the question. It's the 5th time he's answered the question. So Pierce is dominating him in a very serious way. What's more, Pierce even basically treated him like the little homie. And he said, you can't blame the questioner. Well, first off, he's not blaming the questioner. And there are a lot of assumptions that Pierce is making that Andrew is not addressing. He's basically taking attacks without defending against the attack at all. And though the attacks be ridiculous and unfounded, when you're in a public debate or discussion or disagreement, and it's something that is being consumed by the public, you really don't want to let these things slide, because you're going to appear weak and you're going to appear like what he's saying is true because you didn't counter it or disprove it or at least deny. So I think that is one of the major lapses that Tate is experiencing. He's definitely trying to fight on his back foot right now, and he's not doing very well at it.
Jay Smooth said, peace to the saints. What is the best book on Napoleon?
You know what? I've not read extensively on Napoleon, so I can't say what the best book on him is, but I can say that he did write down his own memoirs. And so, there you go. But for me to say the best book, I would have had to have read a significant number of books on him. And before Napoleon, if you're just getting into reading biographies of great men, I'd probably first start with someone closer to home, which is Benjamin Franklin. Thank you for that question. And you know what? Let me do this, Saint. If you would remind me with a DM on patreon.com/the Saint the Sinner, or if for some reason you're not a member, if you DM me on IG, I'll find the book that I read on Napoleon and I'll put it on my Amazon list so you can see which one it is.
That a woman becomes a man's property at
I
marriage.
believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
Right. You see, that to me is misogyny.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
Right. But do you not understand why people think it is misogyny?
I understand why some people can be very offended by what I say. What they do is they take a point like that and they ignore all the other points I make the other way around.
Yeah, but that's why.
Damn, Pierce got him again. Look. Pierce basically asked Andrew Tate, hey, look at the world from my perspective. He said, quote, do you not understand why people can think that is misogyny? End quote. Okay, cool. But notice, it would have been wise maybe if Andrew Tate would have used the same strategy and said, Pierce, do you understand how some people might see it my way? Like, for example, in America, which is a country that was started by religious persons, and the definition of marriage has been always defined by the religious community, and by mere fact that you take on the man's name, not the woman's name. When you say equal partners, well, they're of equal value, but clearly the male is the one who's the leader and the one who is being followed. So in as much as that is the case, we see that there is some level of hierarchy in some aspects of the relationship. Can you see how my perspective makes sense? So he should have challenged Pierce to be more open-minded, but instead Pierce challenged him to be more open-minded. And the irony is that if we're talking about something like marriage, clearly, it makes more sense to consider the religious perspective. That's like talking about hip hop music and not considering the African American perspective. Well, aren't they the progenitors of this institution? Come on, man.
Chris sent a PayPal. He said, "Morning, Sensei. Congrats on 100K. 1 mil is just on the horizon."
Truly appreciate it, and may that be the case.
On Cash App, we have Melvin said, "Peace to the saints."
Peace to the saints.
And Brenda said, "Marquette is classier than this man."
Brenda?
Yeah.
Is that Brenda that be talking
I
crazy?
think so, but she said you're classier.
That's Brenda that be talking crazy?
You're classier
Boy,
than
you
this man.
you don't never know what you're gonna get out of Brenda.
I've repeatedly asked you about that line to see if you've changed your position, but the reality is you haven't.
It's not about changing positions. I'm a full-grown adult, and I stick by the things I say, and I'm responsible for them.
Which, by the way, is fine.
Absolutely.
But you did say at the start of this little exchange, you said
He cut him off
I wouldn't
again.
maybe say things the same way now that I did before.
He
I was
cut him
famous.
off
And yet,
again.
actually, you've doubled down and said exactly the same thing.
On certain points.
So that is what you believe. And that's my point.
Yes,
I'm trying to work out. Look, I don't know you. We've
Correct.
just met, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out who Andrew Tate is and what you actually believe.
I
I don't want to twist anything.
He cut him off
I'm gonna make it very, very
again.
clear to
He
the
cut
camera.
him off
I believe a
again.
woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe
He
that. I
repeated
also
it the
believe a man
7th
has a
time.
duty to protect
Maybe it's
and
the
provide
8th
for her.
or the
I believe
9th.
a man
I don't
should lay
know.
down his life if some
Look, Andrew Tate is an abused woman in this interview. He's an abused housewife. Number one, unless Andrew Tate verbalizes what's going on, it's actually largely invisible to the viewing public, particularly those persons who are unfamiliar with Andrew Tate, who are not fans, and those folks who, what's worse, are a fan of Piers Morgan. Unless Tate points out, hey, Piers, have you noticed that every time you ask me a question, you tend to cut me off before I could answer it? Once you point that out, then he's kind of required to not do that, because then what you can do, Andrew, is if you say, hey, Piers, you seem like a gentleman, an English gentleman, and you keep cutting me off every time you ask me a question. I thought I was here to be interviewed. Is that what we're doing here? Oh, it is. Okay, good. So if you wouldn't mind, stop not cutting me off. I'd be really thankful. And then every time he cuts you off, you say, hey, Piers, there you go again. You English gentleman, would you please stop cutting me off? And then the more times you can accumulate pointing that out, then Piers is revealed to be the rude, impolite person who is not sincere in learning about your position. And from there, you can start to dominate. And more importantly, you can get more airtime so you can actually share your position rather than just sitting in a hot seat getting roasted.
Edison a Cash App and said, "This game is really invaluable."
Oh, it really is. And if you can actually manage to use it, you're going to be a bad mofo, I promise you.
And Kevin just came on the Cash App and said, "Put this in pocket, young man."
In a real way. Appreciate it, Kevin.
something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But men,
I believe that men.
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not.
Damn,
no,
he cut him off
They
again.
literally buy them as a slave.
Well, obviously, we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else.
Yeah, but I'm a Christian. I don't believe that
You're not a Christian.
I
Stop
own my
it.
wife.
Do you believe your wife was given away to you when she took your last name?
I believe that there is a process where a father traditionally walks his daughter down the aisle and hands his daughter to this man, and they stand there and become a union of two loving
we
people
agree.
in a partnership. No, there's no ownership involved.
See, what I would have done then is there's not been one time that you've seen Tate actually challenge Piers Morgan, which one thing I always talk to my young men, my saints, is, you must have fighting spirit. Not to say that I want you to display oppositional defiance disorder, but rather fighting spirit should come into everything that you do. And sometimes you need to bring it to the forefront even more so in this interaction. I'm not seeing the fighting spirit within Tate. I'm seeing a defensive spirit. I'm seeing there's anxiety, there's not confidence, there's not aggressiveness. He's constantly retreating, and he's not punching first. In the fight sports, they say be first. He's certainly not being first. He's constantly responding. What I would have done as soon as Pierce claimed to be a Christian, I said, oh, you are a Christian. Where's your Christianity come from? Is it come from the Bible? Oh, it comes from the Bible. Hey, I have a quick question for you, Pierce, just to see if we're the same kind of religious person. In the Bible, does it say that your God, because you're Christian, does it say that he killed an entire town for practicing LGBTQ? Do you agree with that? Are you that kind of Christian, or are you like a non-Bible Christian? And then once we were able to assess how much Pierce was a man of integrity and all that good stuff, then I would use that to, over the course of the conversation, to deride his character in the same way he's trying to deride yours, and to remove his credibility in the same way he's trying to remove yours. And these are all things that can be subtle but are necessary.
I didn't say
He's not selling her. The father of the bride isn't selling his daughter.
no, absolutely.
That's
But
what property means. It's
She
not-
becomes a
it's not
member
like
of your
house,
family.
is it?
I think we're arguing over semantics.
We're
That's
not,
what
though,
we're
because fundamentally, I don't believe a man owns a woman. You do.
Well, I don't think a man owns any sovereign individual. I don't think we live in the world of slavery. I don't own any men or any woman.
Right.
Nobody owns
But when you
anybody.
use phrases like property, that's what you imply. That,
See, the funny thing is about Piers Morgan, he's actually trying to pick a fight. There is no fight here. He's trying to create a conflict. He's picking a fight. And he's, in fact, getting his bully on right now. You heard me? It's quite funny. But number one, he's clear on the fact that Tate is not trying to forward the idea that, as Pierce puts it, women are chattel property and certainly not slaves. They're not enslaved. This is not something that Tate has said. These are the words of Piers Morgan that he's been putting into the mouth of Andrew Tate so that he can misrepresent his position, that is Tate's position, by exaggerating. And he's doing that on purpose, and he's not being called out for it. And he's even getting aggressive with his conversation. And this kind of interaction is only beneficial to Piers Morgan because what he's able to do to his liberal buddies and to the whole world is say, hey, everyone, you said Tate was big, bad, and strong. Look at the way I just dominated him. Yeah, I took your big, bad wolf and I made him into a small house cat. I'm Piers Morgan. That's what he's essentially doing right now. And it's a pity to see one of our heroes fall by, not my hero, like your hero to some of you who are acolytes. But it's a pity because he's falling right now for sure in this interaction.
I understand.
And so my point again is, you're a smart guy, right?
Correct.
There's no denying that. You're a smart, you're a good talker. I've seen a lot of the stuff. But when what I don't think you quite fully understand.
No, I understand
is that
very well,
when
Piers.
young, impressionable people
I understand
who
that
are
very
not
Real quick, did you guys peep that microaggression? He said, first off, he gives a backhanded compliment. He said, you're a smart guy. You talk, you know how to talk. You're a smart guy. You know how to talk. But what you don't understand, whoa, my boy, did you just say, I'm smart, and then directly go and explain what I don't understand? Smart is usually an indication. This word would suggest that I have significant skills of comprehension or perhaps an innate ability to comprehend. Then you go directly from your fake compliment of saying I'm intelligent to then saying I don't understand something. Oh, but guess who does understand? Piers Morgan understands. Wow, thank you, Piers. Please explain to me. You know, this kind of thing is very offensive. It's disingenuous and is very strategic because it's like he softens you up so that you put your guard down and then he punches you straight in the face. And that's what's happening repeatedly.
not as smart see things like, I think my sister is her husband's property, yes, and you've just reaffirmed that,
Yeah.
that belief. They think that they have the right to own women.
I understand that very well, Piers. Which
That's
is
why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not. I'm
Do you have
saying,
any regret, though, over the way you phrase this stuff?
well, this is the point I was trying to make.
You see, Tate, he said, this is the point I was trying to make. Trying. And this is true. He's been trying the whole interview, but he's not been successful. And look at his face right now. This is a thinking face. And this is a face that results from you being on your back foot, either not having had the proper training or being outclassed, or it's just something ain't right. It looks like he's pondering. When you're in a debate, especially one that's televised and there's multiple cameras, you really want to keep your eyes on the enemy and you want to keep your posture directed at the enemy. You don't want your body crooked. As you can see, his neck and is crooked. His head is leaned over a little bit. It's kind of like this, and he has the thinking eyes up. When you're thinking, people generally think you're lying. You're trying to figure things out, when in reality, you're just representing your views, which theoretically have existed before you showed up on this interview. And so he's right now really struggling. And it's kind of annoying me because we're all rooting for Andrew Tate because he represents some values that we share. So we're rooting for him, but he's not doing well in conveying his position or even representing himself as a man against this fellow.
Okay, Kevin came back on Cash App, he said, let's just keep it 100. Pierce is, I'm going to change the word, like Skittles.
Pierce likes Skittles? Oh, I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised if Pierce, guzzled a couple Skittles before the interview started. Absolutely would not be surprised.
What I'm trying to make is, when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's
I
still
didn't
what
plan.
you believe. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are
If
impressionable.
you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this, and I wish I hadn't said it. I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that when
So it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman.
Are we still on this? Like it's like 9 years later, are we still on this same question? Wow. And because Pierce is the interviewer and Andrew Tate has clearly accepted his authority as the interviewer, he's not asked for the interview to progress. And Pierce is happy to keep the interview on this particular question because he feels like he's thriving and he's able to use Andrew Tate as a punching bag. So this is unfortunate. William writes, Peace of the Saints, I was eager to hear your perspective on this topic. Thank you. It is my pleasure. And I see a lot of, there's a couple people in the chat that are delusional saying things like Andrew Tate is like winning. No, he's taking an L right now. I agree with Andrew Tate's perspectives, like the things that he's being challenged on. I'm on Tate's side and I'm telling you, no, he's losing. From a media perspective, he's losing. If this was a presidential debate, he'd be taking an L. Optics, he's losing. Everything, time, airtime, he's losing. Anytime you're in a discussion with someone and you're trying to share your thoughts and the other person cuts you off so that you're only speaking for 10 seconds, yet they're speaking for 40 seconds at length, you're catching an L.
Kevin is back again, and he said, calling a black man smart, articulate is an insult.
Appreciate the support, Kevin.
I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. Responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority.
Yeah.
So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have
That's what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means...
So right there, again, it sounds like Tate is backtracking, and I think that if he would have doubled down and said, yes, that's correct, that's what I said and that's what I meant, let me elaborate so that you might understand more of the deeper meaning. Here's what it is. And hey, you said you're a Christian, me too. Biblically speaking, here would be a reasonable interpretation. For example, and someone can correct me, I'm sure we have a lot of psychopaths who are religious zealots, though they don't understand the Bible, and how could you? That in the Bible it says that a wife cannot refuse her husband. That is certainly authority over a woman. That's a lot of authority. But I see that, again, Tate is coming up short here, and I really want him to come up strong. Shout out to Eric. He writes, great points. Andrew is being too nice, way too nice. I don't know why. And I don't know him personally, so I don't know what's motivating him here. I don't know what his strategy was going in. I have a couple guesses, which I'll go into. He writes, and a little oblivious to the underlying power dynamics precisely. He has not one iota of the power dynamics going on in the conversation. And that's why I often remind people that this is why it doesn't make sense to get the opinion of a celebrity, the opinion of a singer, the opinion of a basketball player. A basketball player's primary talent is of the body, not of the mind. And that's why we see when they, stop dribbling and start talking, they're not as strong. And it seems as though right now he's not as strong, Andrew Tate. He writes, allowing Pierce, a weaker, less successful guy, to misrepresent his values. Indeed, it's very clear. And one thing most folks have not experienced is when you get any level of stardom or fame or clout, you have so many negative people who criticize you and reach out to, and have negative things to say. And that can wear on human beings, especially if it's something that might be new to them, although that's what you signed up for. I say that to say this. With the kind of fame that Tate has, I can't imagine the volume of people saying crazy things to him, being hateful, accusing him of being a bully or a sexual assaulter and all these different things. And I don't know if he went in with that weight on his shoulder saying, hey, I want to play it cool. I don't want to look overly aggressive like a mean guy. But whatever, if that was his game plan, it ain't working. And it's the wrong game plan.
One mic at a time said, Marquette, how come I think I know something and you keep showing me a whole different perspective? From now on, I'll listen more and talk less.
May we all listen more and talk less. That is a mark of true wisdom. And, you know, you are clearly a wise person because you don't apparently feel like you're holding on to your ideas with a death grip. You're willing to take on new ideas and new perspectives. And that's something that we all have to do. I'm always, you know, reevaluating how I can improve and what new pieces of information I can assimilate to thrive. You know, if you can't adapt, you will never thrive. So shout out to you, and may I learn that from you.
Again, that you're the boss.
The point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish
Sure.
at this point.
There he is. There he. Thank you, Tate. I'm going to rewind it so everybody can hear it. Go ahead, Tate. I'm going to rewind it, so make sure you hear it.
Responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority. You can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
Tell him,
The
Tate.
point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish.
If you will please let me
The point I was
finish.
trying to make was
Thank
talking
you.
about the safety of the woman.
Now, you've been cut off 53 times. We're already 15 minutes into the interview, which is a significant portion into the interview. I really wish he would have done that earlier. That is like step one in someone who understands the underlying power dynamics or just wants to be able to get their question or get their answer out. So he's finally done it. Let's see if he's clever enough to keep on reminding Pierce that he's being rude and cutting him off. John the Don writes, how do you think you would do if you were the one being interviewed by Morgan? Look, you listen to me, John. I don't think, I know for certain I would destroy Pierce Morgan, and I would have increased my fame tenfold by the way I would have destroyed Pierce Morgan. I am the greatest speaker you have seen, full stop. There is no one who can sit with me the way Pierce did and survive. It will not happen. Thank you for asking. Could it be that because he is so experienced, he is able to dominate the... Pierce is very experienced. You see, but there's a couple factors. There's experience, and that's why Pierce is great at dominating, because this is what he does for a living. Pierce is doing what he does for a living. Pierce is behaving the way you would expect LeBron to behave on the basketball court. Just like if Pierce were to go into the kickboxing ring, you know, you'd see that all of a sudden Andrew Tate would start to shine. But this is what I do. I outthink people. This is what I do. You don't come out of the mud, which is where I was born into, and get to where I'm at. But where I'm at by not being able to outthink people. Furthermore, I'm able to size people up very quickly. I'm able to identify their weaknesses, and I'm able to punch. And look, you know, Tate, maybe he's vicious in the kickboxing ring, but he might not be vicious everywhere else. I'm getting it in all aspects of life. I would have utterly destroyed Pierce Morgan. Full stop. Full stop. And also you have to remember, my pedigree is different than Tate's pedigree. Tate didn't go to elite universities. I did. Tate didn't engage with high-level CEOs on his way up. I did. He didn't engage with statesmen on his way up. I did. So we're kind of in two different levels in that sense. He writes, how would you fare? Bruh, easy work. Bruh. I could have went in there off of Molly, drunk, hungover, fresh out of surgery. My mama could have just died. Easy work. No, easy work. Bro, you serious? You serious?
And then he said, peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Easy work. Like, I'm laughing. It's so easy. It'd be so easy. I'd just be way more famous afterward. Who's this black guy? Who's that black guy? Everybody be asking.
Woman. She was walking alone at night. And I was saying, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand, but if I'm responsible for her safety and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations. The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You could absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should. But ultimately,
If she decides, then I can't force her.
Right.
Of
So
course.
authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do.
See, notice, and this was very clever. This is something that the liberals do often. They are very strategic with language, and this is something we all must learn. That's why I never use the term partner. I will not use their words. Tate just got tripped up, and he didn't even know it. It was crazy. Like, you just got beat. You ain't even know it. It's one of those situations where you look like, you know, you done messed up, right? Because who started using the word authority? That was Piers Morgan's word. Piers Morgan introduced into the conversation the term authority. And he used this term, and now you hear the same word coming out of Tate's mouth. Tate starts using the word authority. And so now Tate is already speaking within a frame of authority and basically submitting to Piers Morgan's perspective and suggestions. He has had the word authority and the concept in this particular frame of thinking inserted. And now he's following it. I wouldn't use the term authority. That wasn't my term. I wasn't speaking in terms of authority. I was speaking in terms of the role and responsibility of the husband and the rights of the husband within marriage. I was not speaking of authority. So I wouldn't use that term. Anytime you started adopting the terms of your enemy, you're now doing what they want you to do. And this is like a great military maneuver. It's like, you know, if you're going to go to war with an opposing force and you can get their army to go to a particular ground that you want them on, you're winning. The Master Sun Tzu says that you should always seize the heights, which means advantageous ground. If you're on the heights and the enemy is in a valley and you can shoot missiles or projectile or arrows downward, you are in a great advantage because you can see them, but they can't rightfully see all of your army and they cannot aim up to angle and shoot at you. So it's like Piers Morgan maneuvered Tate onto death ground, and Tate willingly walked there, now using the terminology of his enemy and thinking within the psychological framework that his enemy has pushed him into.
Richter said, I respect the passion that you showed just now against John. Keep doing what you're doing and let nobody tell you you can't do anything you want. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Who's John?
The guy that sent the super chat asking how you would fare.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't against John. I wasn't speaking against John. I was just answering John's question, which is I'm 1,000% certain that I am the best speaker you've ever heard of. And we can talk about this across any topic. We can discuss politics, geopolitics. We can discuss history, philosophy, religion, music, arts, culture. I am the best. There is no one better. Period. There is no one who can speak and it sounds like poetry without thinking and stuttering and do it for hours on end. I am the best. Period. Carrying on. And I don't say that against John. I just say that it's like it is what it is. You go to Jordan and say, hey, Jordan, who's going to beat you in a basketball game? No one. Carrying on. That's just what it is. You ask Jordan about basketball.
And I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means.
Well, I'm not going to, if you think I'm going to lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if I
just a different description of what authority
if I have responsibility for her safety, then I have.
Wait, hold on. Did Pierce just say, bro, you stupid, you don't know what authority means? Wait, what? Wait, that's a basic word, authority. I think everybody knows what that word means. Did Pierce just tell a grown man who speaks English fluently that he doesn't know what the word authority means? I'm going to just rewind that real quick, just make sure I understood. Did I just hear that?
Lock somebody up in their room. Is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority
Wow.
means.
I don't think you know what authority means. Let's see if Andrew Tate lets him get away with this accusation.
What it means. I'm saying that
just a different description of what authority
if I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe.
Yeah, but
now, here's the funny thing. Notice, and I'm watching this for the first time with you. I already said whose word was authority. Whose word was authority? Who introduced this term into the conversation? Piers Morgan. I said do not use his words. Now, he did what liberals always do, create definitions. He just then said, well, I don't think you know what authority is. Well, we all know what the word authority means. But do I know what you mean, liberal buddy? Do I know what you mean by authority? No, I probably don't. Do I know what you mean when you say partner? No, I probably don't. Do I know what you mean when you say man? No, I probably don't. Because you're changing the goddamn definition daily to fit whatever your sick, perverted mind needs it to be. But notice, he introduced this word, Tate starts using the word, then he pulls the rug out from under Tate and says, well, you don't even know what the word means. But Tate's using it. Oh, this clever. Oh, this high level right here. Woo, this high level. But notice, the big homie wouldn't have fallen for that because I told you off rip I wouldn't have used his word. Huh? You see how good I am. See, whoo, I didn't even know that was coming up. That's high level.
Eric said, almost looks like Andrew needs the interview and not the other way around.
Right. Right.
And Lee said, I'm not as skilled as you. My first question to Pierce after being cut off would have been, does he believe in free speech? Pick the battlefield, peace to the saints.
I hear you on that one, bro. Apparently he doesn't believe in free speech. He claimed he does, though. Isn't that funny?
Authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
I think you're trying to, what you're trying to do.
I'm only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am. I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand. And I'm explaining.
This man lying again. Pierce Morgan said, quote, I come with no agenda at all. We saw him interview Dr. Jordan Peterson. It was a complete sleeper. And all he did was play buddy-buddy with Jordan Peterson. Who's Jordan Peterson? What do you want to achieve, Jordan Peterson? He is so buddy-buddy, so friendly. Now he's adversarial. How is it you don't have an agenda? You absolutely have an agenda, Pierce Morgan. And may I go out on a limb and say you don't like Andrew Tate? I'm going to go out on a limb. But may I go out on another limb and say, it's not that you don't like Andrew Tate, it's that you're scared of Andrew Tate. Because Andrew Tate represents a masculine man, and you probably sit down to pee. So when you see an Andrew Tate, it kind of like scares you a little bit, makes you feel a little tingly in your vagina. And so you don't like him. And that's why you're trying to lash him in the only way you can lash him, which is by word.
Very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority over it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely. But the point I'm trying to make.
So you accept that?
Uh-oh, he got him again. Pierce got him again. See, Pierce put it in the context of legality. Tate is getting lost right now. Tate's argument was never in the context of legality. Tate's argument started off in the context of religion, number one, which is to suggest natural right. Inherent, we're born with this right. That's where Tate's argument centered. Now Pierce said, well, I legally have authority over my children. No, my boy, you have natural authority of your children. You made them. They are subject to you as they must come to you for their mere sustenance and shelter. You have all authority over them with or without law, period. But now you've seen this clever fellow, the liberal, he put in the context of the law, legality, and government. And liberals love big government. They want government to control every portion of your life. And now Tate has already succumbed to this specious argument of legality. And now Tate is about to lose because he's left his initial position of religion. And now he's gone into legality. Carrying on.
I accept that
Because you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are very.
These are actually really important things.
They're
Andrew.
important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me to actually.
Thank you, thank you, Andrew. Give Andrew a round of applause. He done finally got on a rhythm of, okay, this is what I need to do. This guy's interrupting me. I need to call him out. Now he should have known this off the rip, but he's figured it out within the course of this sparring session. And that's good. He's making adjustments. It's a beautiful thing. It's a bit tardy, but it's happening. And this is the second time he's called Pierce out on cutting him off. Let's see how Pierce reacts.
The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children, and you're responsible for their safety. So you're going to have authority to
Notice Pierce finally stopped talking.
say, don't go out at night, perhaps, because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So
you
we
just said.
agree.
No.
It's the semantics.
No,
you're
it's not semantics. And this is where I don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say.
See, this is the third time that Pierce says, I don't think you quite get, which is to suggest that somehow Andrew Tate is intellectually limited. He's intellectually delayed. That's the euphemism they now use for the R word. When you're born, you're like, they use the term intellectually delayed for those folks. It seems like he's suggesting that Tate is experiencing the same kind of challenge upstairs, which I think we all know is not the case. And I wish Tate would actually point out some of these instances in which he's being personally attacked, not because there's actually anything wrong with personally attacking people. I do it all the time. And all of my enemies, I want to attack them in every way, truth be told. But rather, it'll allow Tate to start recovering in this debate, because he'll show that, well, number one, you're cutting me off. You're insulting my intelligence. You're telling me I don't know the definition of basic words. And so he starts to make it very clear to the viewer that this is a hostile situation. And so if Tate were to react calmly, the viewer says, okay, you're right. I'm starting to see how he's being hostile with you, and I see that you're reacting calmly. So then the mood and the sentiment shifts in favor of Tate at that point. Shout out to Damien. He writes, this is like the Jordan Peterson and Kathy Newman interview. Piers Morgan and Kathy Newman are basically the same person. Yeah, they're both white women. You got that right. Carrying on.
Respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways.
You know what? Pause that real quick.
We're not.
They're both liberal white women. Recently, a white woman that had called me out. She's like, I don't think like that. You're right. They're both liberal white women. My apologies. Liberal white women. Carrying on. Shout out to the ones who follow this ism.
Saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife or female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, when it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of...
That'd be funny as hell, though, if they come up and be like, hey, baby, handle this. I'm going to clip my fingernails over here. P can't get his hands dirty. Baby, handle this. Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The authority is something that she would give to me. She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone...
First off, what kind of dishonesty is this? Pierce says, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just want to point out that's not what authority means. Number one, how ironic is it when you interrupt someone, but you say, I don't want to interrupt you while interrupting them? That's how crafty Piers Morgan is. That's like me saying something disrespectful and saying, no disrespect. I just want to explain to you that you're overweight. No disrespect. No, that's disrespectful. Doesn't matter if you say no disrespect, but he's padding it so that Andrew takes it. So he said, I don't want to interrupt you, and then he proceeds to interrupt him. Then he goes back to his earlier suggestion, which is that Andrew Tate is too much of that to comprehend things. He says, that's not the definition of authority. So again, playing with the definition of words. Now, here's the funny thing. Earlier, 2 times, Andrew Tate stated, we're having a semantic issue, which is to say we're having an issue of word definition and agreeing on the language and the way to describe things. Semantics, words, language. Then you have Piers Morgan saying, you don't understand the definition of this word. Well, then you're validating what Tate said earlier, which is this is a semantic issue. But Piers denied that it was a semantic issue. Yet, indeed, he's making it a semantic issue. And one thing you're going to find consistently with liberals, they create semantic issues because they manipulate language. And by manipulate language, what I mean is they lie. Oh, yeah, Caitlyn Jenner? Yeah. Caitlyn Jenner's the woman of the year. Woman? That's not a woman. Yes, it is. Oh, they're lying about the definition of words. So it's always a semantic issue with liberals because they lie and make up things. You can't ever really have a proper conversation with these people, which is why much of what I'm describing is not how to have a proper conversation with him, but rather how to win an ideological war, how to win the propaganda and the optics aspect of it, so he doesn't take all these damn sound bites and make you sound like an idiot or look like a weakling, which kind of is doing.
Alpha said, might be the new edition. I identify as a liberal white woman. So for those that haven't seen this shirt, is it linked in the description?
Yeah, I got this sweatshirt linked in the description. And this one is a conversation starter, man. I remember I was even in the airport in Germany, and a German cat found this one to be hilarious, which is great. I didn't know this one was going to transcend borders like that.
And it comes white, black, red?
White, black, red in a real way, the brand colors.
Okay, Carlos said, legally appointed to your seed. Ha ha, this guy is a premium simp. God bless this game. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints.
And Jay, the sinner, said, game too real. Gotta get to work, but I'll catch the replay later, man. Peace to the saints.
And may work be prosperous and go by quickly. You dig? Let's get to it quickly. That money stacked up.
A person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
It's not.
Piers.
Andrew, it's not.
Piers, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety.
But do you understand the difference between having authority over somebody and somebody giving you permission to have authority?
Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we...
Here we go again. Liberal's favorite topic, consent. Here we go with consent. Oh, liberal's favorite topic. And notice, how many jabs at Andrew's intellect will we take? He states, Andrew, do you not understand? Why does he act like everything's an understanding issue to Andrew? I can see what the strategy is here. The strategy is to make Andrew seem like he's a simple-minded, primitive, underdeveloped caveman type. And because he's a caveman type who's uneducated and underdeveloped and immature, we shouldn't listen to him because he's dumb. He's dumb. Don't listen to Andrew. Yes, little boys, he's one of you. He's a little boy like you. How could you listen to Andrew Tate? And that's what they try to do. They minimize you and they try to make you look foolish and make a comedy of you. And that's what he's trying to do to Tate here. Got it. Okay, Piers, understood. Your strategy is clear. And the funny thing, too, is you'll see leftists watching things like this, and they'll be like, watching it as though these are not ad hominem attacks. They are, but they're very subtle and clever.
Pretending I do unconsensual things.
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her, that's a different
That was
thing.
always my position.
But that's not what you said.
But that was always my position,
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an 18-year-old boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand that. And I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing.
No, actually, I'm not. I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to work out exactly what you actually
I understand
think.
with massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
Would you change the wording of what you said?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety.
Which I guess I'm the last supervillain left, because I would absolutely tell an 18-year-old boy, if you are married to a woman, you have authority over her. She is, in becoming married to you, gentlemen, she has chosen to submit to you. And the moment at which she decides she will no longer submit to you, then she is engaging in breaking the bonds of marriage. And at that point, cast her back to them streets. You dig? Mr. Yusuf writes, peace to the saints. Congratulations on 100K. Truly appreciate it, Saint. Thank you very much.
And on Cash App, Joseph said, great insights as usual. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints. Thank you for that, Joseph.
You please make sure keep me safe. Like
I
my
see.
woman
Now
said,
that
comes to
Andrew
me.
Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
Yeah, but
conversation.
you haven't been taken out of context because I read you the entire sentence. It's very.
Well, you've ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
But you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety.
This boy Pierce is the biggest liar. This boy appears to be lying hard. I need this man to be, if I ever catch a case, if I'm guilty, I'm hiring Pierce Morgan as my lawyer. I don't care what they say. I don't care if the judge is like, Mr. Burt, you're aware that your lawyer is not actually a lawyer. You're aware that Pierce Morgan does not have a law degree. He's not valid counsel. Your Honor, I don't care. Pierce is going to get it done for me. Because if I'm guilty, this boy know how to lie his butt off. Just imagine, you heard Pierce Morgan say that, I've just quoted a sentence from you. And then Tate responded stating that, yes, that's one sentence in a 2-hour discussion. And then, he says, you probably need some context. And then Pierce says, well, I gave you context. I gave you the sentence. I think we all know that a sentence is not context, that a sentence has the context of maybe a paragraph, maybe a page of text or something like that from a transcript. And so he's lying on the actual definition of what context is. And whereas Pierce would challenge Andrew Tate on definitions of basic words we all agree to or agree on generally, you don't see that Andrew Tate is challenging Pierce on the ridiculous things he's saying, which is the idea that you could take one sentence and the sentence standing alone is good enough. That boy be lying. Whoo! You ever get busted cheating? Hire Pierce Morgan to talk to your girl. Good Lord.
And me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So
Do
yes,
you
you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
Hell yeah.
People,
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking you?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say...
Facts. Carrying on, Pierce. That's a fact. We all know that's a fact, Pierce. Quit lying, my boy. Kelblivian writes, Peace of the Saints. Congrats on 100K. This subscriber count is way overdue. Don't you agree? It is, and you know what? I could sit back and, ruminate on the idea that, I should have this number of subscribers, or I can get to work and figure out how to get it done. And so we're going to do that, and it's going to take a teamwork for the dream to work. And I appreciate all of you who support me, and you guys are the ones who matter, the ones who really are a part of this family and support. So thank you.
Say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
No, that is facts. No, that is facts. That is, no, that is facts. ProTouch writes, congratulations on 100K subs, Saint, since 25,000. Wow. That's way back. I don't even know if I listen to my own stuff at 25,000. That's way back. I appreciate it. Peace to the Saints.
Carla's right back and said, oh, congrats on the 100, Chief. Peace to the Saints.
Peace to the Saints. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds.
Correct, bro. Correct.
And having effectively been having too much sex to be taken
way too
in
much.
a more respectful way.
Way too much.
Firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women, we can...
I like that Tate started going back at him for the first time. He says, no, that's actually not what you said it was, and here's why. But what I want Tate to further do, and you'll notice a lot of politicians do this, they get you to agree that you were wrong. It's a clever tactic. You get them to agree that they're wrong. So, for example, when Tate points out, like, no, you use this term with an M, and it's not that term. It's not hatred of women. Here's why. So then Tate gets that, and then Pierce already takes over the conversation. Says, well, yeah, but da-da-da-da-da. He should have said, no, hold on, Pierce. Do you agree that what you said was wrong? It's actually not hatred of women. You got to hammer that home and make sure that Pierce agrees that he was wrong. So you're basically holding him up for the audience and saying, look, I beat him in this round. You have to do that.
Marcus said, don't fully agree with everything you say. day, but the work rate and effort levels are indisputable. Congratulations on finding your natural swing on YouTube with the live streams and also 100K subs. Peace to everyone.
Thank you.
And Steven on Cash App said, peace to the Saints. Congrats on 100K. Sass and culture will take over.
Peace of the Saints. Yes, may sass and culture dominate everything. Sassing or nothing.
Can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny.
No, it's not.
Oh, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist,
Correct.
perhaps, but misogynistic, absolutely
Is that
not.
what it is? But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful.
So you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I just read out.
Why would I walk
Absolutely.
up to a 25-year-old
Because you said it
woman
in public
and
on
say
the
that?
internet and it's been listened to. And what?
That was funny. Tate. Tate is outraged. She's like, why would I walk up to a 25-year-old woman? Hey, excuse me. You're less attractive than an 18-year-old. I just wanted to let you know. I'm sorry to interrupt you eating your Subway sandwich, but I just wanted to let you know, if you ever thought you were more attractive than an 18-year-old, you're not, okay? Sorry, enjoy your Subway sandwich. Have a great day. Tate is outraged. I feel you, bro. He's starting to get frustrated because he's being badgered with things that are nonsensical. Would you mind making the thermostat colder? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Watched by millions and
Well,
millions
that's been overdue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of young,
Correct.
impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours longs of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to antagonize
But I think,
them. Which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph, is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that.
This dude is sick. Hey, look. Look. I want to know that Piers Morgan played this interview back for his homies at the house. You hear me? He at the house. He got his little theater set up. He bring his broads and his homies. He passing out 40s. They rolling up blunts. He like, hey, look at this part. Look at this part when I got him. I told him. Look. I told him a lot of things people say are toxic masculinity are not toxic masculinity. But what you said, that's toxic masculinity. Ah! Oh my God, he's roasting them. This is dirty. This is absolutely disrespectful. I feel like Pearson played this back, dying laughing. Oh my goodness.
And you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age. I do think that's misogynist. And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
You
What?
wouldn't say it to a woman's face.
This guy Pierce is a jerk. I do think that's misogynistic, and I think you do too. What? Did you just tell me what I think? Piers Morgan then penetrated my psyche. Piers Morgan told me what I think. Oh, that's amazing. This boy aggressive.
Face.
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic.
Did he just say there's no difference? Did Piers Morgan just say there's no difference between me saying something online and walking up to a 25-year-old girl out in the world and telling her what I think of her? He just said there's no difference. This is an actual lie. I'm just going to play, and we're fingers crossed. Andrew says that was not true and that was foolish. Here's why. Come on, Andrew.
We're discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys...
Cut him off again. Good Lord.
Are you comfortable that they would have...
He's smiling like you cut me off again.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance. And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's.
I think you know for a fact millions of them are digesting exactly what you're saying.
Completely. The entire internet, to a degree, I think any subject you can find, there's going to be a whole heap of
I come
content.
back to the Joe Rogan thing, Andrew. Is that a lot of what you say, I agree with.
Yeah.
Right? I do.
See, a lot of people in the comments on my last video were suggesting that the short form content was cut up to make Pierce look good. And of course it was. But they were suggesting that Tate didn't let Pierce cut him off for the whole thing, which I think we're, a significant portion in, and we can see that no, Tate did get cut off consistently. And not only was he cut off, he was badgered, repeatedly asked the same question. His intelligence was put into question repeatedly. He was insulted. I mean, it's like every dirty tactic that could be used, Andrew suffered, and didn't really seem to put up a proper fight either.
Genuinely, I've read a lot of stuff you said. A lot of the stuff you talk about, I think, yeah, he's got a good point, right? So we agree about a lot of things. But when I read that kind of thing, I'm like, how much of that is you? How much of that is some act? Do you regret saying stuff like this?
I don't.
And actually, do you see it as weakness to admit you shouldn't have said something like that?
No, I don't.
Wow. Did Pierce on the low, just tell me this. Did Pierce on the low just call him fake? That was slick. He said, I watch you, and I kind of wonder, like, how much of this is an act? Like, how much of this is an act? Which is to say, you're fake and phony, and you don't believe what you're saying. I think Pierce on the low just called him a fraud. Wow.
Live with regret. I think what's happened is that, like I said, long format content, arguments with feminists, arguments with the toxic masculine crowd, arguments with the left, and they're going to take a small clip, small sentence from ours, and they're going to try and paint me as a
But
villain.
I'm not left or right.
I don't know what you are, Piers.
Exactly. That's my point. No, but that's my point.
And I understand, and you're doing exactly as I knew would happen on this interview, which is because you're a busy man. You're not going to watch hours and hours and hours of video.
Actually, I have watched hours and hours of video, and I'm going to come to the stuff where I agree with you, and I'm going to come to the stuff about your censorship, which
Sure.
I have issues with. So this is, it's a long interview, right?
Sure.
I just thought off the top, you said...
Look, Pierce ain't gave this man no ground. Not one time did Andrew Tate say anything, and Pierce like, yeah, I agree. Not one time did Andrew Tate say anything, and Pierce like, yeah, that's a good point. Everything Tate has said, Pierce was like, no. Andrew Tate just said, you're a busy man, which is giving him a little bit of compliment. You're a busy man. I know you haven't watched hours of my content. And Pierce says, actually, I have. God damn, Pierce won't give him a break. Go ahead, Pierce, man. Go ahead.
To me, and you were quite bold about it. Well, go on, then let's go through these.
And you should keep going. I will sit here and stand by what I said. I believe that
on
man...
that, I've just read to you there.
Yeah.
Do you wish you hadn't said that?
I understand how it's been misconstrued. I understand how it's been weaponized against me. Do I regret it because it's been weaponized and used against me? Well, that's slightly annoying.
That's not why I want you to
Did I
regret.
at the time mean what I said in the context of the conversation, which obviously you're not familiar with and the people at home are not familiar with? No, I meant what I said.
The 25-year-old women that just talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more
Yes.
for me to clean up.
Well, there's a whole bunch of context and conversation around that that's been missed, and I
I don't
encourage.
think I'm missing much context.
Well,
It's pretty-
I encourage people who are interested to go watch it.
Right, but I mean, I've just read out 3 sentences on the bounce there. I don't think there's any context I'm missing. I mean, you made it pretty clear what you think about the difference.
Explain parts of the world and why virginity is valued in most parts of the world. The feminists were arguing against it, and I was sitting there, actually very much like you, a mediator between the two, explaining why in most of the world still today, perhaps not in the Western world, virginity is coveted. Youth.
Nah, bro, you tripping. What you mean not in the West? We love virgins out here. Yeah, no, virginity is valued everywhere. Yeah, Tate, you going off your rocker, boy. Now, we all love some virgins. We just ain't seen one in a few decades. We ain't seen a virgin since the 3rd grade. You heard me? We ain't seen a virgin since the Bulls was winning the chip with Jordan. You heard me? We ain't seen virginity since Marcus writes. Lastly, can you confirm exactly what I need to do to purchase the large black backpack briefcase, please? It needs to be sent to the UK. Peace to the Saints. So is he talking about the duffel bag or the briefcase backpack? I'm not sure why he said large.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay, so if you're talking about the backpack briefcase, which is like the leather, the sleek joint, I'm not sure why you said large. It's no larger than the brown one, which is an appropriate size for the largest size MacBook Pro or MacBook Pro laptop. It's appropriate size for business and things like that. It's not large. It's not for travel. It's for daily use, for school or business. So if you're referring to that, you would send $325, which would be your pre-order. You can send that to this cash tag here or to PayPal, and that would secure you in the process, and we'll have one made for you, and then we'll ship it to you. When you send your payment, send your email address.
is coveted in most of the world and throughout all of human history. And I was sitting there making the point, explaining why in certain parts of the world they think how they do,
Well, in large parts of the world,
even though it's very different to the Western world. So I was making a point, mediating between two groups very similar to yourself. The conversation has been misunderstood. They've taken this clip of it and it's been weaponized and used against me. I understand that is because I am now the most famous Google person on the planet. It's inconvenient, sure. But I'm definitely not a danger to women in any regard. I date women 25, 26, 27 years old all the time. None of them are offended by the things
I don't
I
think
say.
you're a danger to women.
Of
I think
course
that
not.
I think the danger, if it concerns you, the danger is the influence you have on young men to have this kind of mindset about women. And that's really where I'm trying to get to what you really believe and how much you've just shot off because you think it's like entertainment.
See, now we're getting to the core of the issue. When Pierce starts to use the word dangerous, first off, we shouldn't even be associating the word dangerous with Andrew Tate. I mean, he's not teaching anyone how to make explosives. He's not a radical religious zealot. He's a guy on the internet who has a fairly common opinion, and he happens to be successful. And we listen to people who are successful or who have what we want. So he's not a dangerous person by any means. And if I were Andrew, I would have stopped the usage of that word and the association of that word with my name during this interview, because the more the word danger is associated with you, the easier it will be to make you persona non grata. And that's because human beings, especially in this increasingly weak society, if you can scare them, you can control them. We observed this in, 2019 when that pestilence was around? Was that 2019?
Yeah.
20? Yeah, we saw in 2019 and 20 is when I have to ask, because while people were locked up in the house, I was still flying around the world, so I got to ask. But while people were scared to breathe and scared to get close to other human beings because of what the government and the news told you, the fear is what allowed them to be enslaved. And when you call someone dangerous, you make people scared of them. You make parents scared. And that will allow the governments and big tech to censor more. That will allow them to silence Andrew Tate by making him dangerous. And so that's a word he should be very cautious or thoughtful about making sure he's not associated with. Shout out to French Dan, writes, peace to the saints. Peace to the saints, appreciate it.
Entertaining, and you haven't really given it much thought. And whether now you're a bit older and you've had all the fallout, whether part of you is thinking, actually, if I had, as Joe Rogan says, if you hadn't said stuff like this, you'd probably still be on all these platforms. You'd be massively more popular, massively more famous, massively richer. So I'm really just trying to get to, on the blatantly misogynist stuff, do you just wish you hadn't said it?
With great power comes great responsibility. It was certainly said before the great power came. It's inconvenient to a degree. However, like I said at the time, with the context of the conversation, I know that I'm not saying things which I believe to be detrimental to the world. However, they've been misconstrued and they've been misunderstood.
If a 25-year-old woman was watching this, would you say, I'm sorry for saying that?
Well, I wouldn't want anyone to be offended by anything I say. But I say things I say things that offend. And this is the thing that's interesting, Pierce. Please let me finish.
Yeah, but you're behaving like a politician. Yeah, but hang on. You could say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you. So, as an interviewer.
Wow. Pierce is dominating this boy something vicious. Pierce got a strap on. So, number one, shout out to Tate for saying, Pierce, please stop interrupting me. He said that twice. And then Pierce is basically saying, you're not answering the questions I'm asking you. What Pierce really means is you're not giving the answers I want you to say. And Pierce is actually either trying to get two outcomes out of Andrew, three outcomes. One, to embarrass Andrew Tate, to say, hey, look, everyone, I dominated the alpha male. Or B, he's trying to get Andrew Tate to make a 360 switcheroo and say, you're right, Pierce, I'm a liberal just like you. And like speak out Pierce's talking points that he's feeding to him. Or number three, he wants Andrew Tate to say, I'm wrong. You're right, Pierce. Pierce, you're right. I'm wrong. And if Pierce can't get those three outcomes, he's going to continue the badgering in full force. Shout out to Screeches. He writes, if you're having a debate and someone continues to cut you off, even though you tell them they are cutting you off, what's the next step? Also, please check your email about a product. Well, number one, with regards to...
You don't need to check the email right now.
Okay. With regards to someone cutting you off, you have to ask yourself, what is my goal in this interaction? If you were, say you're Andrew Tate and you went on the Piers Morgan show to get more fame, if your goal is to get more fame, then conflict drives eyeballs and views. So, hey, let's turn it up. You want to cut me off? Cool. I'm going to cut you off as well. It's just like in boxing. Yes, punching below the belt is against the rules, but if someone punches you below the belt, often you'll go back to your corner and your trainer might tell you, hey man, he gave you 2 low blows, give him a low blow back every time. It's against the rules, but sometimes you have to meet force with force. And if your goal is to get more famous as a result of this interview, then yeah, let's engage in conflict. Let's see who's better at it. Beat him at his own game. So you have to ask yourself, what's the outcome you're seeking? Are you trying to position yourself as an aggressive person, a funny person, a reasonable person, a rational, a calm person, a stoic person? You have to ask yourself about outcome. And also ask yourself who's watching and what are you trying to get them to do? And that will decide your path.
Marcus is back. He said, many thanks for the details. To the people who wish to support and can't do so financially, support by pressing your thumb on the like button. It's free and anonymous. Peace to the saints.
Peace to the saints in a real way. And I appreciate you sharing that opportunity on what people can do, because I know a lot of people, for some reason, might not have a dollar to their name, and it's happened to all of us. But you're right. Clicking the like button, sharing the content, reposting the content, that all does help. And, spreading the message. So thank you very much for sharing a way people can really be a part of this. Shane writes, Andrew isn't keeping the same energy. It would appear that way.
Sure. Okay.
You're behaving.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
Okay, you accept that. Let's accept we both got on. Okay. So again, my point is simply, if a 26-year-old woman is watching this and has heard those comments, would you just say to her, look, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that?
No, I won't. I will say that
Thank
I am
you.
sorry that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world.
That doesn't mean you're sorry.
No, I'm not sorry. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry if that offends you. However, there's a large contingent of the world that believe that, and I was mediating for a conversation.
Parts of the world that believe that about 26-year-old women are parts of the world where women are not allowed out on their own.
That's a conversation.
They have to wear full burqas.
Well, that's a conversation.
They're not allowed to drive cars.
That's nothing to do with it.
But is that the kind of world for a woman that you?
I was mediating a conversation.
No, I'm asking you what you.
Why is Piers Morgan talking to Andrew Tate like he's the caliphate? He talking to Andrew Tate like he's running ISIS. Those parts of the world are parts where women have to wear burqas. They're not allowed outside. As though Andrew Tate is about to be like, oh no, walk more. Like, bro, Piers, what planet are you on right now? Now, granted, an intelligent person, by intelligent, I mean an above average person who's intellectually above average can look at this and see that Piers Morgan is a loon. But the average person is average, not above average. Hence why you have to really show up and perform well in these situations, because you will easily be painted into something that you are not by your enemies who are intentionally seeking to misrepresent you and to exaggerate your position to the point where they can make you look dangerous so that you are further cut off. The funny thing is, for Piers Morgan, who claims to not believe in censorship, he's making a great effort to position Andrew Tate as a dangerous personality, which will only ensure that he is further censored. The irony, huh? And that is why I point out to you that sometimes your enemies come with smiles.
What do you think?
I don't live in a country where that happens.
So you're using that as the excuse for why you're not sorry for saying it.
It's not an
Is
excuse.
that there are parts of the world where this is fine?
My
So
friend.
my question to you
My
is,
friend.
well, do you think it's fine?
He's
I
not
don't
your
think it's
friend,
fine.
Andrew.
I live in a world where
You don't think it's fine?
the reason
This isn't that hard, Andrew. You can simply say, Piers, you know what? With the benefit of hindsight, I wish I hadn't said it like that. And if a 26-year-old woman's watching, I'm sorry I said that, because that actually is blatantly misogynist. And even though that's a view held by other parts of the world, it's not a view I share. No.
Now, this is really culture warfare right here. As I pointed out many times, Piers is literally giving Andrew the talking points. He said, Andrew, you could say, Piers, although blah, 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 and tells Andrew what to say. If this is not the most wicked, evil thing you'd ever want to see, it's sad. And furthermore, it's culture warfare because Piers is talking to Andrew as though he is the representative of Islam. There are clearly allusions to Islam, clear allusions. He referenced the burqa, which is a garb that some women who practice Islam wear. So he's actually literally using Andrew Tate to wage war against the religion of Islam. It's amazing. And he's engaging in culture war. And Piers is further a liar in that he said, I'm neither left nor right. No, that's not true, buddy. You are a leftist, and you are typical of most of what we're seeing in the West in terms of mindset and ideology. And so when you say you're not left or right, that's clearly not true. Baller alert. Johnny writes, peace to the Saints, big homie. Been paying my respects to many other male improvement channels, but it only feels right when I contribute to someone I can relate to and feel that authenticity. You truly are the best and realest YouTuber for men searching for that guy. I appreciate that. That really does mean a lot. Thank you very much. That's a very high compliment, huh?
Yeah.
I would respect you more if you said that than if you try and say, well, it's said in other parts of the world, so I'm not sorry.
I think you
that doesn't tell me what you think.
Then you need to understand why my content existed in the first place. My content existed because I tried my very hardest to be an absolute and utter realist, especially with uncomfortable truth.
Man, I tell you, the maid be pulling up here. The maid done pulled up like 4 times. I feel bad, low key, at this point.
What should I say?
I'm gonna come back in 30 minutes. I feel so bad. Yo, shout out to France though, cause I'm not in France right now, but in France the maids be so bad. What was that, the African American one? Or not African American? There aren't any African Americans. We're not in America, but does the black one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay. Anyways, back to this work.
Truths. I was pointing out that very uncomfortable.
Is that a truth?
It's an uncomfortable truth in many parts of the world. It's not a truth that I'm happy about. It's not a truth I created.
Hang on. You're doing it again. What do you mean that's a truth in other parts of the world? That's what you said. It's not. You're not talking about another.
Pierce said, wait, hang on. You're doing it again. No, Pierce is good. He's too good. That's the exact thing I said that Andrew needs to be doing, which is that every time Pierce cuts him off, he should be saying, hang on, you're doing it again. And Pierce is actually using that very strategy on him. What can you do? What can you do? Give me 1 sec.
Other part of the world, you're talking about what you believe is the difference between 18 and 90-year-olds and 26-year-olds.
I was talking about
It's your belief.
I was talking about what the people on the panel believe the difference is.
So what do you think the difference is?
I think the difference is age.
What's the difference then?
Well, then a 26-year-old's older than a 19-year-old.
And so you stand by what you said about talking to the guys, being to the club more times, being effed and dumped more times.
Well,
Do you believe that or not?
No, there's plenty of 26-year-old women who.
Is anyone wondering why he hasn't said Pierce? Keep it real with your boy. Tell me if you would prefer a woman whose draws have been ran through by a pack of men or a woman who's only maybe been with one guy. Which woman would you prefer and why? And then I want to hear Pierce say it doesn't matter because we can predict that. And then you just walk him down that path of logic. But the whole time he's failed to ask Pierce any questions, and that's when you know you're dealing with someone who might not quite be suited for that top level of power because they don't look at the world and see the true nature of things. They're existing within a psychological frame. And the psychological frame that Andrew Tate is currently within is, I'm the interviewee, he's the interviewer, so he's gonna ask the questions, I'm gonna answer the questions. It's his show, it's called Piers Morgan Uncensored. I'm Andrew Tate, so I'm the junior partner here. And he's operating within that frame, and in reality, that doesn't have to be the case.
Who have been with one man or virgins,
Right.
of course.
So you don't believe that?
I don't think that the age is the only thing that's going to decipher how many men or women.
Right, so if you don't actually believe what you said, just say sorry.
It's not about not believing what I'm saying. It's about you understanding that there's large conversations going on.
I'm just reading back stuff you've said.
Now, how many times has Piers Morgan tried to get him to apologize? That's a weird thing that we should be like really struck by. It's like, God, like really bent on Andrew Tate apologizing. And this is one of the reasons we know for a fact that Piers Morgan is liberal and he is a leftist, because this is one of their major goals. This is why they cancel people. And the only way you can get uncanceled is by reneging on what you said and basically saying, oh, I didn't mean it. I said that, but I didn't really mean that. That's the only way you can kind of get uncanceled. And the total effort of Piers keeps going back to like, well, why don't you just say this? Or why don't you just admit it? Or you don't really believe that.
I know
and
you
I'm
are.
asking you, do you believe it?
I believe that it's more likely a 26-year-old's had more partners than a 19-year-old.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. You're right.
In fact, there could be absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever.
Completely agree.
So why say it? Why stick?
Now, see, there was a major mistake by Andrew Tate. Pierce said something stupid, and then Andrew Tate said, completely agree. No. How many times has he agreed with you, Andrew? 0 times. You've said things that are completely rational and easy for us all to accept, and he still denied and disagreed every single time. So why would you ever give him ground by saying, I agree? No, don't agree. That's the wrong thing to do. Do him like he's doing you. Furthermore, Pierce said, well, you don't know. Like a 25-year-old could have less bodies than a 16-year-old. Yeah, it's possible, but it's improbable, meaning unlikely. We're not talking about the rare case. We're talking about what is typical. And that's what Andrew should be pointing at. And the problem is that Andrew is letting too many of the details get by. You see, when you let all of these things slide, your losses are accumulating.
Invader asked if the black and white tie-dye MD label shirt is back in stock, and it is. So the link is in the chat. We have Marco sent a cash app. He said, peace to the Saints, tuition, and congrats on the 100K subs.
Peace to the Saints. Truly appreciate that.
We have Javier said he's trying to make Tate kiss the ring. Peace to the Saints.
Bro, that's exactly what it is. That's I couldn't put it any better. He's trying to make Tate kiss the ring or kiss his shoes. Here, kiss my feet. Like, it's crazy out here.
Stigmatize all 26-year-old women.
It's not about, we're repeating ourselves here.
Well, not really. I'm just trying to get to what you actually believe.
I believe that men find youth attractive in general. I believe that in the context of the conversation.
25-year-old women aren't old.
I agree with you, they're not. Especially I'm old. I'm a lot older than that. The point I was making was part of mediating a panel, a conversation between feminists and some Muslim guys.
I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
good.
But
So you understand why I said the sentence.
But as far as I know, you weren't espousing what a Muslim man might think. You were espousing what you think.
I was espousing what the people on the panel believed.
But you were saying what you think.
I feel like you're trying to pin me down.
If it's not what you believe, just say, I don't believe that.
How many times do I have to point out that Pierce keeps telling him what to say? He's literally telling him what to say like he's a puppet. And this is very ironic because Pierce is the very guy who before was trying to accuse Andrew of taking authority over a female and treating her as property, which is to control her. Yet we observe that Pierce Morgan is literally telling this guy what to say. And what other forms of control are that clear? It's so clear. He's literally telling him what to say. But yet he would, I imagine, not think he's trying to take authority over Andrew Tate, and he absolutely is. He's absolutely trying to dominate Tate.
What part wouldn't I believe?
Well, you tell me which part you don't believe. There's the sentence. Which part would you now say you don't believe?
I believe that 25...
Hold on. Is this delusion? Come on, bruh. Somebody wrote, he writes, Andrew's playing chess right now. To lose? What are you talking, bro? What is he watching? This is like when you're watching a boxing match and somebody get beat the snot out of. And then the judge is like, we would like to announce the winner of this is Jose Canseco. I know that's not a boxer, but Jose Canseco, they raise his hand and everybody in the stadium is like, what fight were they watching? Like, what in the, is this rigged? Bro, what are you watching? Talking about Andrew's playing. How's he playing chess? By getting frustrated, being inarticulate, getting cut off, and repeatedly answering the same questions, repeating himself? What chess is he playing? I want you. What chess is Andrew Tate playing? I'm going to put the link in the description because I just want to know. I'm not going to roast you. I just want to know what the hell you're talking about. What in the hell chess is he playing right now? Good Lord, may the Saints be as loyal to me as this guy is to Andrew Tate, because Tate is getting bodied something vicious, and this boy done said he playing chess. Good Lord. That's like me tripping into the ocean and drowning, and someone pulls my dead body out of the ocean, and a Saint look at him like, he just playing dead. He ain't dead, he just playing dead. Like, what are we talking about right now? I can swim, but it's you get the point. What? Oh, here we got a psychopath here. He put, "It's not over yet, you idiot." I'm an idiot, but he doesn't start a sentence with a capital letter, nor does he end it with a period. He also doesn't have a profile photo. I'm an idiot, though. This is amazing. It's amazing. I got the link in the description. Go ahead and join in. Now, mind you, these people are such cockblowers that we're half an hour into the interview. Dude's been getting bodied the whole damn time, but they're still convinced he's winning. Like, come on, just stop being a fanatic. It's terrible. Don't be a fanatic. Be a man. Be a rational man. None of the above. Baller alert. Writes, tuition. Congrats on the 100K. Truly appreciate it. And thank all of those who have sent in a gift to help us celebrate our 100K. I appreciate that, to acknowledge our 100K. I've been lurking since 25,000 when I wrongly thought you were just another manosphere talking head. You're the big homie, Fax Kellerman. I've learned a lot, and dollars can't express my gratitude to the pimpin'. Appreciate it. Carrying on. I'm going to just give a little bit of time for some of these psychopaths, like these cockblowers, to go ahead and come on. I just want to hear from you guys. I just want to understand the psychology. Good Lord. Fans are funny to me. Fans are really interesting, especially male fans. They're fascinating characters. It's just because it's like logic just means nothing to them. Like, you're watching this guy get blown out in an interview, and people are like, wait, just wait for it. Like, what, wait for what? He be getting blown out for 30 minutes. Like, is something about to change suddenly? I don't think so. I do not think so. Baller alert.
And he's back. He already sent $100 earlier.
He really balling then.
Yeah.
He really balling. It's not a game. Johnny Black writes, the manosphere is finally going mainstream. Only thing missing now is a true leader leading the front like the Saint. Can't wait till they try to interview you. Ha! Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be funny. I promise you. Low key, a lot of people don't want to mention my name because they know better. You know, every time I speak up on something, you find that people pretty much dodge the smoke. And that's the smartest thing they could ever do, because they'll never win. And they know that. They'll never win. And so I always think, like, wow, like, Son is really smart because, like, he ain't responding. And that's the best thing he could do, because they're always going to lose. Shout out to the people who rightly estimated themselves and rightly estimated me and didn't respond to what I said to them. You dig? Why is it that none of the people who, like, call you an idiot never want to come on screen? They're so confident behind the keyboard. These are the incels. I just want you guys to know, if you're wondering, like, who are the incels, the involuntary celibates, is these guys who talk crazy on the keyboard that you say, hey, come on screen, and then they're nowhere to be found. Those are the incels. And the way they present themselves on the internet is the same way they present themselves in real life, which is to say that there's no substance. There's nothing there. And that's why women are not interested in them, because there's nothing there. You dig?
There's another one at the bottom.
Which one?
The one at the very bottom.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and click that link then, bro. Tell me about it. I'm fascinated. Hold on, let me get the link for you, bro. I'm going to put a fresh one in there for you. Go ahead. Go ahead, y'all. He said I'm acting tough. That's good. That's good. I got the link right there for you, bruh. Go ahead and tell me. Go ahead. Bang that link one time and just tell me what's up, man. I don't know. Am I referring to him? I forget. I don't recognize your name. But if you feel like you're an incel, feel free to bang the link. I don't think I was talking to you, but you know, if I was, fantastic. Bang the link. Okay. All right. So nobody wants to bang the link. All these alpha males out here, they don't nobody want to bang the link. All right, we gonna carry on. We gonna carry on. Oh man.
5-year-old women perhaps have had, because they've been alive longer, maybe have had more partners, but I don't believe that makes them a bad person.
Right. You understand that the way you phrased it makes every 25-year-old
I understand.
feel a bad person.
No, I don't think so.
Of course you do. Not stupid, Ad. Come on.
Piers.
Andrew, you're not stupid. You know what that sounds like.
He said you're non-stupid. Wow. Come on, Piers. You ain't got to disrespect my bro.
To any 25, 26-year-old woman.
Completely. And
right? So you have maligned every 25, 26-year-old woman with that statement. And I'm simply asking you, to all those who are not of the type of women that you've described here, are you sorry?
I don't want anybody to be offended by anything I say. I want to be a positive force in the world. I don't want anybody to hear what I say and make them feel bad about themselves. I want all people to live righteous and good, whether they're male or female. And anybody who's
You lead a righteous life?
I think I do, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You both.
Pearson, do you? Hold on, I need to get that as a sound effect. I might start using sound effects. I kind of like that one. Do you? You live a righteous life? Yeah. Do you? I like that one. Shout out to Pierce. He's a real scumbag. You hear me?
None of the above sent $50. He's back with another cash app. He said, tuition for the haters to pull up. I want the entertainment.
Me too, man. But the thing is, I think they scared of the big bad wolf. You heard me? They know it's the warrior king of this YouTube thing. So they sit mad as hell in their mama basement. But they won't bang that link. No, sir, they won't. Especially these boys got this low self-esteem out here. Young man on the last live stream, I kid you not, he said, I'm not going to come on screen because he's going to make fun of the way I look. Bro, where did you grow up? Where did you grow up that you're so soft and feminine? I was like, that's really cute. If your biggest issue is being made fun of by a stranger on the internet, you are a real dweeb. And you're going to have a lot of trouble with life because I promise you, life gets a lot more difficult than that. And I also wonder, what circumstance did you grow up under where that's like a big fear to you? Because when I was in school, everybody got roasted for everything. And people were ruthless. So why people can't handle a joke or two is beyond me. Someone is faking, like they're pump faking, like they want to come on stream. They came into the studio, but they won't put their camera on. So we know that we can't add them to the stream. As you guys know, there's a lot of Skittle guzzlers. They try to show their genitals. So that's why we always require people to put their face on. So all of a sudden they don't try to pop up their genitals on screen.
Okay, one mic at the time said, everybody gangsta until the big homie shows up.
Every time. And that goes for real life as well. You dig? Because I really walk it like I talk it, and it's the same thing. Hey there, Slick. You calling for beef?
Nah,
can't see
man.
your face.
What's up?
You
Somebody.
So what are you calling in for?
Somebody gave me the link, so I joined because I wrote a comment that is interrupting someone. Is that winning a debate? But by the way, I've been watching you for like a year or so, man. I'm at the studio, so please don't mind the mic.
Got you.
Hey,
Well, I appreciate you calling in, though. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
I'm calling in from India, by the way.
Shout out.
Yeah, I've been watching you, man, for a really long time. But I would like to know, like, how is that winning a debate, man? That's all.
How is what winning a debate?
I saw the interview yesterday night. The guy, Piers Morgan, he was just constantly was just interrupting Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when he's trying to like say something, he cuts him off. As soon as he's trying to explain himself, he cuts him off. So I was just curious, how do you think, like, how is that
winning a debate? Got you.
Man?
I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to pull you out of the studio because you have a lot of background noise, but I'm going to answer your question right now.
Sorry, man.
Thank you. Okay. So number one, he says, how's that winning a debate? This is the problem, is that a lot of people don't understand the world. They understand what's inside of their head, but they don't understand the world. In the world, logic and facts and rationality do not rule. It does not matter. No one, for the most part, makes decision based on logic, facts, statistics. That's not what we make decisions on. Human beings make decisions on, what am I scared of? What's going to get me sex? What's going to get me more money? What do I feel? What are my emotions? That's what rules. So when you talk about cutting people off, you're showing dominance. Human beings always want to display dominance and feel dominance. For example, you listen to rap music. It's basically martial music. It's talking about dominance, murder, controlling, monopolizing large numbers of women. So when you're talking about a debate, Piers Morgan and Tate were not in a debate. A debate is something that would go on at Oxford Union. That would be a debate where you're going through arid intellectual contention over meaningful pieces of information that are backed by facts and arguments. It is not a debate. It was supposed to be a media interview, which means that you're trying to appeal to average people. People of average intellect have very low regard for statistics. Guess what? Statistics bore average people. They don't know the statistics. They don't want to know the statistics. They don't like mathematics. They don't know what a p-value is. They don't know what statistical significance is. They're not the brightest star in the sky, in other words. So how much would you lose the average person? And mind you, the world is populated by average people, not exceptional people. How much would you lose them if you were to come on and give a very sophisticated explanation of something with statistics and data? You would lose. Here's a great example of how much we know about average people and their tolerance for information and data and sophistication. Donald Trump was your last president. How sophisticated were the things he said? Not sophisticated at all. Make America great again. 4-sentence slogan, very simple. Build a wall. 3-sentence slogan. People are speaking in sound bites. That's the world we live in. Look at the president today. He damn near ain't even never woke up. Homie's a goddamn living vegetable. So if you have a president who's not awake in the most powerful country in America, in the world, a country that's reasonably educated, that would indicate to you that intellectualism is frowned upon. Think about this. How many American presidents wear spectacles, eyeglasses? None. And those who do actually wear spectacles, they're encouraged to wear contact lenses. Why? They look less like a nerd. We do not prize that in the society. That's a clear indication that people are not understanding what is actually influential in the world. Damien writes, not happening to me, but I'm curious. How should a man handle a situation where their boss or supervisor is rude, disrespectful, or passive aggressive? Probably try to get transferred to a different department or get a new job, because you're not going to get promoted. And it's a total waste of your time to be a high performer with a boss who doesn't like you. So you're going to be in a terminal situation where you're forever going to be, not getting recognized for your talents. I'm not going to let anybody else on because I tell people to come on for the smoke, and then people come on, they ain't got no smoke. Mike B writes, this is hard to watch. Andrew being pinned against the ropes, indeed. By the way, baller alert. I believe he wants to get unbanned. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But hold his stance. Congrats for 100K and keep breaking down the truth of the matter. Priceless game, piece of sense. I truly appreciate that, Mike. Thank you for the support. On smoke, I don't blame him, but it's like, dang, like when I say call in for the right things. You call in for smoke?
For smoke? You know what time it is, man. I'm calling for smoke, man. Come on, let's go.
Okay, you're calling in for smoke. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Me? Oh, no, I ain't got no YouTube channel, man.
Okay. Why are you wearing sunglasses in the dark?
To protect my identity, of course.
To protect your identity?
That's it, man.
Bro, what in the weirdness?
But anyways,
are you wearing a mask?
Let's
is that
get
your
to the
face
topic.
or are you wearing a mask?
Nah, man, it's a mask. I'm wearing a mask.
What is going on right now? This is the
But anyways,
weirdest
man,
shit.
let's get to the topic.
Oh, hell no, bro. Bro, too weird. I'm not going to lie to you. Bro creeped me the hell out. I'm about to see bro on a Netflix documentary. This fool about to be on a true crime series. This man said to protect my identity. He over there beating off with latex gloves on. What's wrong with this boy? This man creepy as hell. This boy strange.
Johnny Black, who sent 2 baller alerts, said you might want to leave a pin with a link to join the panel. I see a lot of people asking for smoke. LOL.
Nah, they don't want no damn smoke. They lie like a bug. It's crazy. Bruh,
Right,
take
man.
that. Why are you in the dark, bro? What the hell is wrong with bro?
Okay.
Nah, man, I was just trying to, protect my identity and stuff. But
First off, your internet is like all grainy right now. Like, am I grainy too? Can like the audience tell me, are we both grainy or is it just him? Because you coming in grainy as hell. We can't see you no damn way. Nah, for real. You grainy as hell, man.
Yeah.
That nigga grainy as hell. You calling in for smoke? Oh damn, we got a.
No,
What?
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Are you calling in for smoke?
How do you define smoke? Because I mean,
Oh,
I have a.
damn it, we got an intellectual here.
I just hopped in. That's why.
Precisely, how do you define smoke? You know, smoke is a smoke per se per what? What kind of smoke, bruh? How long you been watching today?
I just
number
hopped
one.
in, but
How
I
long?
watched the last video about this.
How long were you watching today?
Maybe like 2 minutes.
Okay, so if you've only been watching 2 minutes, why did you click the link to come on screen?
I had to hop on, bro.
Okay, please don't call me bro.
Right,
are you a fan of mine, or are you here for? Are you?
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I'm definitely a fan.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna just stop it here because I don't want to disrespect you, because I'm in the mood to go in. You heard me, and there's no need for me to create unnecessary enemies. So being that we're on good terms, we gonna cut it here, and I appreciate you showing up. Peace to the saints.
What up, 859 said, was that the Unabomber?
Bruh, I mean, I'm trying to tell you, it is just weird as hell in the internet land. I mean, people mention incels. I'd be wondering who they are, and now we're seeing. I mean, I'm damn near doing God's work out here. They're going to be in the court case, after he done kidnapped all these folks. Like, we saw him on the Saint and the Sinners live. Look, I'm going to give you guys, for the people who are serious, I'll give you a little bit of time to send in your thoughts, questions, comments via Cash App, Super Chat, or PayPal. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, objections, I'll address them, and then I'm going to go ahead and wind up because things are getting too weird. I'm not going to lie to you. It's weirding me out, especially the guy who came on with the mask and the sunglasses and the hoodie sitting in a dark-ass room. It weirded me out. It's like you don't go from watching Pornhub. It's like, what did he have, 2 tabs open? He had the Pornhub tab, and he had my tab up. I'm just feeling uncomfortable. Like, was he watching Pornhub, beating off, listening to me, too, at the same time? Like, what's going on with this dude? It's creepy. Give you guys a little bit of time.
Wow, we're waiting. Braxton said, grew up in Indiana and went to Purdue. Thousands of miles apart, but we give out smoke the same way. Peace to the Saints. Shout out for a recent LinkedIn Connect too.
Peace to the Saints. We got some real nutty buddies. Look at this one right here. You are avoiding confrontation. I like that. Confrontation. By making excuses with those who clicked to the link. No, I don't think so, because last I checked, I bring people on and roast them for the low. You heard me? I roast them for the free 99 out here. That's number one. Number two, I like how you use the word confrontation. I like that. Like you're a real nerdy one. I can sense it. I can sense it. You almost impressed me because you started your sentence with a capital letter, but then you failed to put a period at the end of the sentence. You're a sloppy one. You're a sloppy one. Worst kind of nerd is the nerds who are not smart. That kind of bothers me. I feel like if you're not going to be good looking, tall, strong, athletic, successful, wealthy, or any of the things that people generally regard as a merit, at least be an intelligent nerd. That I always thought of when I think of the word nerd, I think of intelligence. Nothing worse than an unintelligent nerd. But anyways, thank you for your comment, my dear boy. But we all know this to be not true. We all know this to be not true. Anyway, Saints, it's been a real pleasure to have this time to fellowship with you. And I've kind of enjoyed the little bit of entertainment toward the end. So I thank the psychopaths and the incels for calling in. You kind of brightened my day a little bit. I can't lie. I have really high self-esteem, but it gets a little bit higher when I see the guys I have to compete with out in the world, and I find that, wow, life is really easy. If this is who I'm competing with, life is really easy. While I'm talking reckless before I go, you know what's always funny to me? When I hear about like tragic things that are on the horizon, I always ask myself, like, all right, well, who am I up against, right? Like, say everything goes bad. I always think, you know what? I'm going to always do well, because it's like these you got goofballs like these ones who call in. I'm like, if that's what I'm competing with, I'm good. You heard me? I'm good. If they still alive, man, I'm going to win. I'm going to continue winning. Woo. He writes, congratulations on 100K, 200K on the way. Indeed it is. I appreciate that.
Two of them are baller alerts,
Indeed. So. Peace to the saints. And by the way, gentlemen, don't call into my live just because you're seeking attention. Like, that's not manly. I don't think it's cute at all. Like, don't call in just to get attention. That's what hoes do. Like, if you have a sincere issue, like, and you for some reason are delusional and think that you have some smoke, I'm happy to embarrass you for everyone's entertainment and to further aggrandize, myself and enrich my reputation and go viral. I'm happy to utilize you for that purpose, but don't just call in because you want attention. That's kind of some broad stuff, right? Don't be a TikTok thought, in other words. Peace to the saints.